a lengthy period of time taken to release the bodies of the Shakahola massacre victims to their kin, noting that most of the exhumed remains were severely decomposed, thus necessitating a more time-consuming identification process. The department says it resolved to using bones or teeth to identify most of the victims, as only a third of the bodies could be identified using fluids. The homicide unit is expected to enter the fifth and final phase of exhumation exercise, which began in April and where so far 429 bodies are being recovered. As part of the preparations ahead of the final phase of exhumations, the department has received more shells from the Kenya Red Cross Society, which will be used to make a mobile mortuary to store any recovered bodies, while making it easier for police to identify the recovered remains. Now, President William Ruto has asserted that the government will deal with the land grabbers in the country, saying that the National Youth Service officers will be sent to protect the controversial Mavoko farm in Athi River. President Ruto was speaking at the Kenya Institute of Special Education, where he promised to build a facility at the institution.
We're still importing many of the basic devices, and we have decided as a country that what we can produce in Kenya, we should use the human capital we have, the resources we have, the raw materials we have to produce them in Kenya. And I agree that this is one area that we need to produce devices that are used by our children with special needs here in Kenya.
He also expressed concern over the low number of school-going children in Nairobi County compared to other schools in the country.
In fact, the surprising thing is that there are more kids going to school in the rural parts of Kenya than there are in the city of Nairobi. You know, what a paradox. So we need to work that out.
UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala said that the leadership crisis in Nairobi County Assembly's minority side is being resolved. Speaking after meeting with UDA ward representatives, Malala said the process of reaching a consensus had begun even as leadership changes made county assembly leadership remain.
Sisi kama chama tunafanya juu na chini kuhakikisha kwamba tumesolve hizo migogoro ambazo zimetoka katika county assembly. Tunajua ni mambo ya leadership, lakini tuko na uwezo kama viongozi wa chama kuhakikisha tumeleta timu zote mbili pamoja, na tunahakikishia kwamba in the next 2 weeks we are going to have a solution.
Malala also called on both sides to remain calm, awaiting the decision by the political parties' disputes tribunal.
Before they resume their sessions, we are going to have an amicable solution to this conflict. Otherwise, we want to implore upon both factions to remain calm, to have confidence in the secretariat. We are going to be as impartial as possible. We are not going to favor any side. We are going to follow the rule of law, and we are going to open up doors so that we can give each and every person an opportunity to be heard. Thank you.
This comes after the declaration that saw South B Ward Representative Shege Waithera appointed the minority leader of the Nairobi Assembly, replacing Waithaka Ward Representative Anthony Kirago. President William Ruto has asserted that his government will deal with land grabbers. Meanwhile, Jubilee members in support of the embattled Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni have announced that they will initiate the process of removing members of parliament elected through the party from various parliamentary committees. The wing claims that the MPs were seconded to the committees by Jubilee, and the decision to cooperate with the Kenya Kwanza goes against the party constitution. They have now asked Minority Whip Mark Mwenje to consult with the minority leader in the National Assembly and start the process immediately, since the members were appointed to the said committees while in Azimio.
We, the NEC, have decided to send our Azimio Deputy Minority Whip and the Minority Leader to de-whip from committees all members of Parliament under the Jubilee Party who have deserted the Azimio coalition. Tuko pamoja hapo.
This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM. Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the situation room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Ndutha, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. People hiding here and there, But after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you are showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice Right, 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What do they say?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me. Said yes. My name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of... Good morning. The sun is out and there's really nothing happening on the roads, at least not yet. We'll see a little bit of movement on Jogo Road, taking us through towards Landis and then out into the city. But apart from that, nothing popping, at least not for now. We're likely to see some outbound movement. It is, after all, getting into the weekend. Let's see what's happening where you are. And starting off Friday just right. Doesn't look like it'll be anything crazy, and we hope not for that. But let's talk in the meantime on SpiceFM KE on X and keep things moving this Friday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Happy Friday.
Exactly.
How are you?
Me?
Eh.
I'm fine.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa kabisa.
Very good.
Unaonaje?
Naona uko sawa.
Unaona?
Naona uko sawa kabisa.
Nakuanga hivyo.
Siti.
Yes, please.
Vipi?
Fiti.
Mambo iko aje lakini?
Maridadi.
Did it rain in the neck of the woods? I got up this morning and I found some wet patches.
It drizzled. It drizzled a little bit, but beyond that,
there's some wet patches even here at Standard Group this morning.
Yeah, it did a bit of a thing.
What I noticed, the drizzle was around 11 at night. Because every time it drizzles, I wake up.
Drizzles even? Must be a really light sleeper.
I'm a light wake upper.
I don't know that that's a thing. But all right. Wait, Siti, hujafungua bag?
Kuna kitu unataka?
I didn't find.
Kuna kitu unataka?
No, yes, newspaper. I didn't find one. I went to my usual nini, I didn't find. I don't know what happens sometimes. These things delay. Now, if it's not there by the time I'm passing there, you know that for me, as far as I'm concerned, story quizzer.
Finish.
Finish.
And I just continue.
Eric, how are you this morning?
Mimi niko salama.
That's very good.
Yes. Hey, I'm looking at photos here. Okay. Niko poa.
He's organizing his stuff.
Clearly. It's just that he doesn't have a bag.
Yeah. Stuff is all organized. Mambo iko sawa. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday, 27th of, this is the final Friday of October.
My goodness.
No, what we had said.
We had said the final Friday was coming.
No, we had said the year's over.
We did, actually. We did. We said that in June.
Next week, November?
Yes. We're gone till November.
Mosquito. November. See November.
November ends with an A.
Yeah. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. Doctor.
You need help in copious amounts.
Abdisamad Dimbil is the general medical practitioner at Zazi Hospital. He will be joining us because this month has been the breast cancer awareness month.
Yep.
Yes, it has.
So we'll be having this conversation on breast cancer, and he'll be here at 7 a.m. for that conversation. We also be having another health conversation today, and this is on universal health coverage. So it was rolled out a week today. Yeah?
A week ago.
A week tomorrow. It was rolled out a week ago by President William Ruto in Kericho. So are we off to a good start? We'll be joined by Dr. Abdi Mohammed. He's the chairperson of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals. And Geoffrey Mwangi is a health financing expert and a former CEO at the National Health Insurance Fund. I think when he was there, it was Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF. So those two gentlemen join us at 8 a.m. for this conversation. So keep it here for this and more. Sindio, Yote and Akuja. We are live streaming the show, and we're seeing already people are online. I don't know what happens. There's some times when we can see that we are live streaming, and then people are saying, how
We're
come
not live streaming?
You're not live streaming.
And as we know, we're live streaming.
And then we can see. And there are other people who are already active on the live stream. So sijui ni nini.
So how can it be that we're live streaming and yet we're not live streaming?
Hey. I don't know what's wrong with what's happening with this government.
Hey, God.
And from live streaming to government. That's
Serikali.
That is a delightful leap.
16 after 6. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sunny conditions already in Nairobi at 17, highs of 25 and lows of 15 into Friday. We're looking at a partly cloudy Nyeri at 16 with highs of 24 and lows of 15. Nakuru mostly clear this morning, highs of 24 and lows of 12. And looking into Eldoret, 13 degrees and partly cloudy with highs of 24 and lows of 12. Mombasa this morning, partly sunny at 25 with highs of 31 and lows of 25. And we're looking into a mostly sunny Malindi at 25, going to highs of 32, back down to lows of 25. Kisumu this morning is partly cloudy at 19 degrees, highs of 29 and lows of 19, while Kakamega at 18 is partly cloudy with highs of 28. We'll see lows of 15. Looking into a partly cloudy Kampala at 19 with highs of 28 and lows of 18, and 24 and mostly sunny in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30. Johannesburg is cloudy at 17 with highs of 32. We'll see lows of 17. Lagos is mostly clear at 25 with highs of 31, back down to lows of 25. And we're looking at cloudy conditions in Kinshasa at 23, going to highs of 29. How about we look into a sunny Beijing Friday afternoon with highs of 23 and lows of 7. Paris is cloudy at 12 with highs of 16 and lows of 11. And we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions with a chance of rain in London with highs of 14 and lows of 9. New York Thursday night is cloudy at 18. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 15.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 SpiceFM, Nairobi.
Good morning, everybody. Already we can see you there. Let's just start it off from the top. If this thing will just agree to behave itself, and it is behaving itself not. There we go. Habari Wananchi, Robert R. asks, he says he's listening from Quebec in Canada. Okay. Don Sabwa, we see you. Good morning. Alex says, good morning. Who took our El Nino? Okay. He's asking from Doha. Don Sabwa says, CT, tomorrow in Malawi, we say Mawa. Say Mawa?
Mawa.
Well done. Sir George Gashoiri says, good morning, Ndu CT and Eric Furahide Imefika. The weekend starts. Wishing you all a blessed weekend. James Sekento says, good morning, tuned in trio. Good morning, SpiceFM, says Sam Otoigo. Hi, Mwangi says, greetings from down under. The land issues highlighted in the last couple of weeks has significant decoupling of the diaspora community from 254. Alar? Monis Janeth says, good morning, tuned in from Singapore. Good morning, folks. Greetings from York in Pennsylvania. Kenya's weakest link is the judiciary. Not even one corruption case has ever been concluded. Really? Toti Bishop amesema anatupenda bure and says TGIF. CT, do you know what TGIF means?
Thank God it's Friday.
Well done. Good morning, Spices. Eric, you should bring KRA officers to do what? Okay, so I'll just bring them.
Just tell us where you are.
We'll bring them to you, man. Desmond says, good morning. Polycarp Omondi says, the best way to start your day, indeed. Karibu sana. All right, good morning, good people. 38 foreign trips in 1 year. Or maybe he's addicted to airplane food. Joaquin Degwa says, good morning, Spice. Love you guys and wish you a fabulous, blessed weekend. You are the best. Thank you, sister. Patrick Courier. Hi, Ndu Eric CT. There's a new film in town by the name Act of Love. Okay. Would love you to interview the producers as they highlight postpartum depression. Okay. Robert Bogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Owen Bosire says, never missed a show, beautiful people. Monsieur Omeito, beautiful. Boy Child says, good morning, listening from Utawala. Kindly ask CT if he attended the same school as Chenwa Achebe. I don't know who Chenwa is, but I know Chinwa. Did you attend the same school as Chinwa Achebe?
Attend the same school?
Yeah.
I don't even know which school you attended.
Which school did you attend?
From primary?
Yes, please.
Okay. When I was pre-primary, I was in a school called St. Joseph's in Nakuru. Then I went to, the school is now called St. Xavier's, but it used to be called Goan Union. Yes. Then after a primary school, I went to secondary school.
Well done.
Then I went to high school. Then I went to university.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Chinua Achebe did not attend any of those schools. So I guess the answer is no.
Actually, I missed one.
It's possible.
It's before I went to St. Joseph's. I was schooling in my neck of the woods. Yes.
Pre-primary was St. Joseph?
No, pre.
Okay.
The school.
Was that baby class?
No, it wasn't baby class. I don't know what it was, but
City in baby class.
but what used to happen? We used to go to school in the afternoon because there had to be 2 sessions.
So there were morning guys and the afternoon guys.
As for afternoon guys, we used to walk there. The primary school was called Yogo Primary School.
Yogo.
Yes, that's in a place called Katolo. Katolo is actually in Nyando. Yes, that's Shags deep.
Deep inside Kabisa.
Yes. That's where I started school.
Well done. I don't think that Chinua Achebe went to Yogo Hey, so there's your answer. Now we know CT's life. Isaac Babji says, CT, Eric, and Ndu have some Eba on me. Really? Do you guys know what Eba is?
No.
Eba is a food derivative of cassava, right?
Okay.
So you have cassava. From cassava you can make fufu. Then now when you dry the cassava, the dried, you now reconstitute it and you make another form of swallow. But now you take it with soup. So Eba is
dry cassava.
Yes, but then now it has been made into
the stew.
You eat it with soup. Eba is like it's like, okay, for purposes of understanding, ugali, but now from cassava, a different kind of.
So you grind it. You grind the cassava.
Okay. For any kind of cassava to be eaten in pulp form like ugali, you must grind it. So it's taken to the mill. It's the wet mill. It's done like that. Then it's dried. The dried form is eba. Then you can make it into eba. The wet form now is molded into fufu. Okay. So Babji says we should have some eba, but it needs soup now. Which soup are you giving us? Frederick Amolo says, good morning. You guys are just amazing. Amazing. Oozing wisdom in your situation room. Watching live from Goat Janen. Got Janen. How do you say that?
I preferred your first pronunciation, goat.
It's a goat Janen.
That one is what I preferred. It's a got Janen now. This one now. You've gone native completely. The first one, goat, was good.
Okay.
Goat is okay.
Goat is a hill.
Yeah, it is a hill. See mountain.
Hill.
Got a lila. Bus, you've got it.
Okay.
Got it. Well done. Jacinta Mbilo says, hi, Eric, CT, and Princess Ndu. These are the people that I like. In fact, have 2 coffees on me. I'm concerned about the housing levy. 4 months into deductions and no framework. Return PS Hinga to clarify so they can tell us what's going on. CT, how many books do you read monthly? Not me who's asking. Somebody is asking.
How many books do I read monthly? Let me explain.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, currently I'm reading 4 books. Okay. So in the last 3 months, I think I finished 2 books.
So there's your answer. Yeah. An average of 2 books per month.
Some more closer to that.
Voilà.
Sometimes I do more. Because like say, for instance, I know that when you get to the middle of next week, these books I'm reading, I'll have finished reading all of them.
Nisawa. Somebody says you're being evasive about your profile. That's John Gishuki. That's his way of saying good morning. George Karaoke says, keep up the same energy and if possible, bring more startups. We enjoyed the session on why startups fail. Okay, sawa. Just saying. He says, good morning from Meru. And Tim Goda says, good morning. Listening all the way from Bamburi. Good morning, everybody. It took a minute, but we're glad that you're here with us. Karibu sana.
Karibu, everybody. Sasa City.
Yes, please.
Final day of Zanzibar Proverbs.
Today is the day. Leo ni leo. Asemaye kesho. Asemaye kesho ni mwongo. It's a song. Leo ni leo. Oh, okay. That one. Okay. Right. This one, I am going to say it. And I'm going to ask those who are listening to tell me what they think the English equivalent is.
Okay.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Yes, yeye ni shinda wembe.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe. Haya, translation. Kila mtu. Get your pens out, paper. Go.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
We'll be reading your comments.
Yes.
Shortly. Headlines. We only have the Standard.
Okay, so let me tell you.
And Nairobi and
East Africa.
Why not? Travel question. Ruto cuts budgets by 500 million shillings. A day after a special report on his foreign trips, the president pledges to cut his travel budget, even as the state seeks to explain that the trips have been beneficial by unlocking investments and opportunities for Kenyans, in addition to projecting the country's image globally. So, lazima travel. Lakini, kama ni ngumu, chanitoa 500 hapa. All right. Farmers reject the price of 4,000 shillings per bag of maize. They're saying it is too what? It's too literal. Java to buy coffee from farmers. Uhuru Kenyatta marked his 62nd birthday yesterday. Everybody was, wishing him a happy birthday all over the place, and for some reason it's made the news. Then also we did hear from the court yesterday about how this gentleman was found guilty of a brutal murder of Ivy Wangeshi that hit the headlines about 5 years ago. And that case has been in court. Sentencing comes up on the 22nd of November.
Okay.
We'll look into the details of that story in just a bit, but that's what I've got. Imagine.
I have the Nairobian.
You do? Tell us.
The headline in the Nairobian and the story in the Nairobian are kind of a bit different. How MPs will legalize prostitution. More than 100,000 women surviving on sex work can breathe easy if the draft bill handed over to the National Assembly Speaker categorizes it under petty offences and not punishable through imprisonment, as has been the case. So if it is categorized as a petty offence, has it been legalized?
No. Still an offence. An offence.
This headline is just being very dramatic here. How MPs will legalize prostitution. They also remind us about, remember there was a student who did a poem and in the presence of President Uhuru Kenyatta then, Otongolo.
Yes.
And then the president said, Kijana, he used to live in the slum with his mom here in Nakuru. And he said, I will sort out your education. That Kijana's education was sorted. He went to Multimedia University for his undergrad, and then he got a scholarship. He's currently in China. So they're telling the story. Hear it. Yes, he's studying in China. They talk about the trail of killings in Butere that have sparked fears of killer gangs return. Many people have died in Butere in the last couple of months. And they also highlight the good, the bad, and the downright ugly side of online cabs experience. People who are hailing cabs, taxis online, and then things just go south. They recap our interview with the Kabogo in what Kabogo said. I would rather be a businessman than a politician. But now that I'm a politician, my rather does not rather much.
My rather is
yeah.
rather.
So let's do the half past thingy that we normally do, which is look at traffic. Yes. And in the next couple of hours, we'll also be warning you about what happens on Sunday. Roads will be closed because of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. We'll tell you which roads.
Hakuna. There's very little traffic on the roads this morning. I'm not quite sure what's going on. People are sleeping or what's going on. Schools have also closed, so that's one thing. And we'll probably see a lot more movement into the weekend as schools shut down completely, getting into exam periods. But for now, really, you'll be able to get in and out of Nairobi without an issue. Let's look at what's happening in a westerly direction. There might be some outbound traffic that's coming off of Westlands in a bit, but we're going to look at that shortly. Coming off of Thika Superhighway, we just see at the Pangani underpass that there is a bumper-to-bumper situation as you're getting towards the turn-off, then going towards Wangari Maathai or then going towards Ngara. But for now, I think you'll be fine getting in and out of the city. Mombasa Road into the CBD will take you a very short period of time. And we're also looking at traffic coming off of Gong Road flowing free. At least for now. So do tell us in case something jumps out at you. Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on X.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Pages are really loud. Kinovia is guilty of Ivy Wangeshi's murder and the family calls for who? The hangman. The High Court in Eldoret has found Naftali Kinovia guilty of the brutal murder of Moi University medical student Ivy Wangeshi. We remember this story did grab the headlines a number of years ago. And then it went to trial with the main suspect then having been arrested and remanded. On Thursday, Justice Stephen Githinji, who has been presiding over the trial since 2019, said the prosecution had proved their case beyond reasonable doubt, which, remember, is always the threshold. Justice Githinji, currently based in Malindi, delivered his judgment virtually in a 45-minute emotional session that saw some advocates representing the victim's family break down. The judge was forced to pause twice as Muslim believers did their prayers from a nearby mosque. He noted that the accused bore malice, aforethought, and bought a new axe, which he used to end the student's life. If he had no intention to kill, he had the opportunity to attack the victim using his bare fist, but he had an axe and a knife and used an axe, a lethal and dangerous weapon, to strike the medical student. He continued, I saw the axe in court. It is used in villages to chop firewood and to cut trees. The accused had denied having a knife. It is laughable when he alleges in his defense that a member of the public handed him the knife. Who would want to lose his knife for no purpose? This allegation, according to the judge, is not true.
Useless.
Justice Githinji noted that Kinovia did not even use the knife to attack Wangeshi, noting it would have probably given the deceased a second chance to live. The accused never even used the knife and didn't give Wangeshi a chance to survive. He used the axe, hit the deceased not once but twice on the head, and next leaving her with no chance of life. He poured cold water on allegations by Kinovia during hearing that he was in an intimate relationship with Wangeshi. In March, Kinovia, having sworn testimony after the prosecution closed its case, said that they had lined up 20 witnesses to give their evidence in chief. Kinovia claimed his relationship with Wangeshi started in 2018 and had been nurtured for years since their days at Joyland Academy, and that he had invested time and money, but Wangeshi was not there for him. The judge, however, noted that the more than 400-page cybercrimes report tabled in court showing the communication between the two showed that they were not in an intimate relationship. Although Kinovia had confessed to killing his girlfriend and regretted that his actions had led to the loss of an innocent life, the court pointed out that the realization came too late. verdict. The family of the deceased, led by Advocate Kiroko Ndegwa, and the prosecution led by Nora Limo, asked the court for the maximum sentence of death against the accused. They said a future doctor's life had been lost at the hands of the accused, and we are seeking a harsh punishment against the accused. And just like the Bible, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Sentencing will take place on the 22nd of November.
What? That thing was painful.
Boss, it was very... I can't forget the...
It was painful.
It was a very sad story.
Very, 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 very sad.
This is interesting against what now is being requested by the judiciary in terms of the abolishment of the death penalty. You can hear what the prayer is from the the prosecution. Prosecution is asking for the death penalty. The family's lawyer is asking for the death penalty, not life imprisonment, death penalty.
They want to go for the full maximum.
The manner in which their daughter and their friend died, there is no payment except for the life lost as well, or life taken as well.
That one is going to be a very... Well, okay. Let me tell you a story that's quite interesting. It's in the Nairobian today, page 7. Father and late daughter's partner in a tussle over 100 million shilling property. Listen to this story. An intricate 100 million shilling property tussle is shaping up in Nairobi's Kahawa Sukari estate, pitting a father and his deceased daughter's partner. The properties at stake are three motor vehicles, parcels of land in Mathera, Nairobi and Ruiru, several bank accounts and shares in various companies. So, John Gathongo Njogona is a former engineer with KBC and is currently living in the US, fighting to secure the properties that were initially registered under his deceased wife, Florence Ngendo Kiumi. John is in America.
Right.
His wife, Florence, died.
Okay.
These properties in question were registered under her name. Tuendele? According to Jogona, this is John, he and his wife had relocated to Massachusetts for decades before their daughter joined them in 2010.
Okay.
They had gone to America. Their daughter joins them in 2010. Jogona is currently in the medical field, while his daughter, Anne Wamoyo Gathongo, trained as a nurse after she joined her father upon completion of a tourism and hospitality degree at Pwani University in 2010. So she finishes her education here, goes and joins her parents in America. My wife and I continue to invest back home, and we accumulated the property together. But in 2019, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and she relocated to Kenya to rest and heal. Okay? This is Njogona's wife. It was during her stay in Kenya that Wamoyo, the daughter, and Dennis Gashie Gedoi, her boyfriend, decided to travel to care for her ailing mother. Njogona believes that after his wife died, in that same year, Wamoyo transferred her parents' property to herself and locked her father out of the administration process.
Allah.
Okay. She's come, she's taking care of the mother. Mother has died. Father is still in America. For some reason, father is not coming. Mother dies, daughter transfers all the property to her name. She's with? Boyfriend. Higher. When my wife died, my daughter acquired a letter of administration for the estate that had been registered in her mother's name without my knowledge nor approval. The letter of administration was confirmed in February 2022 by Ruiru Principal Magistrate Court following the application. In July last year, Wamoyo, who was still in Kenya, traveled to the boyfriend's home, Gashie. Gashie is not the place. Gashie now, this time, is the boyfriend.
Okay.
The boyfriend's home is in Ihuage village in Mathera, Nyeri County. So Wamoyo has gone to Mathera, her man's home, partner's home.
Right.
She dies there.
Daughter died.
Daughter is dead. Okay. Now the father says, upon Wamoyo's death, the family called him from their home, but details he provided regarding her death were not convincing. This is the man, the partner. According to a post-mortem, Wamoyo, who was 32 years old last year, died as a result of a heart attack. However, Njoroge is not convinced by the report and has written to DCI asking them to investigate the death, insisting he suspects foul play in her death. After her death, Gashie, who had cohabited with Wamoyo between 2019 and July 8th last year, then kicked off the process to have the grant of administration of the estate changed into his name. What annoys me, says Njoroge, is that Wamoyo, a mother of two, died on July 7th last year. Gashie insisted on burying her in Ihwage village, a move that I objected vehemently. But Wamoyo was buried in her parents' home in Kanyama village in Kirimukoyo area in Madeira before the change of administration of the estate kicked off. The controversy surrounding the property emerged when Gashie alerted me of his wish to build his home on my land, a move that led to investigations and discovered my daughter had accessed the right of the administration to the property listed in my wife's name. Gashie then filed an affidavit in support of the summonses for confirmation of the grant of administration, saying the deceased did not have any other dependents. On his part, Gashie said he is the father of two minors that they sired with Wamoyo, who was the administrator of the properties that belonged to her mother. Gashie insisted that he lived with the deceased persons in the same compound in the US for 2 years as she was being treated. He is applying to be administrator of the estate, over which Wamoyo was granted a letter of administration by the Royal Law Courts. Sasa umeelewa hii story. So, a girl came back home. After her mother died, she took over the property without telling the father.
Yeah.
Then she mysteriously dies. She's buried. Her partner, with whom she had 2 kids, now applies to be the administrator of the property that she's now the administrator of. The father is like, wait a minute.
Who are you, first of all?
Surely, now, this whole story. When did my wife's property become my daughter's property even without my knowledge?
And then now the daughter's property is the property of a man who I don't even know is her husband. It's not possible.
Now, he knows his husband. It's her husband. He knows there's a relationship.
Know but don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what is it now in court?
Yeah, now he's battling. Now this man is trying to battling and finding now. He's asking DCI, please investigate, find out what happened and all this and the other.
Gosh.
Another bizarre case. Let me just tell you this
You
one.
on a roll?
Yes. In a tragic and bizarre incident at a liquor den in Vendegua, Kiambu,
Just over here.
a man lost his life after a violent altercation. The incident occurred when Karis, that's not his real name, who had consumed gin, assaulted Joseph Ngangara, also known as Joe, following an inappropriate action by Joe's friend, identified as Kabaridi. We have Karis,
And Kabarigi.
we have Joe, we have Kabarigi.
3 guys now.
Yes.
Okay.
The incident unfolded after Joe's friend Kabaridi allegedly made an inappropriate and offensive gesture towards Karis.
These are all men.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Kabarigi is said to have touched Karis's boobs, something that annoyed the suspect and prompted the attack.
I have questions.
Now that I have your attention, may I continue? In response to this provocation, Karis struck Joe with a bottle of gin, leading to a fatal outcome.
Death by gin.
Kabaridi touches
Moves.
Karis's boobs. Karis chukuas the gin bottle.
Kadoosh.
Guy died.
Yeah?
Yep.
Fedegua.
Hapa to the Indigo. You know those ones where it's just
spur of the moment, real
one
quick,
thing
out.
just leads to another, and whoop,
your life suddenly
it all changes.
Yep.
Somebody is dead, and you are facing a case of causing death.
Hard small.
Very, very, very painful. City, do you have a story that you can tell us?
Yes, I do. A man whose hands were cut off seeks justice.
Okay.
Well, since we're on the road,
tuendelee tu, si ndio?
This is a 56-year-old man whose hands were cut off by a machete-wielding gang accusing him of bewitching his son in seeking justice. Mr. Katana Kenga said a hippo killed his son while on a fishing expedition along River Sabaki. However, some family members claim the hippo was sent by him, Kenga, through voodoo.
The hippo now?
Yes, voodoo. Okay. Remote control.
Yes, of course.
Okay. After he was labeled a witch, warlock really, but nonetheless, let's go with witch.
Sure.
Right. He said he became a marked man, and his entire village in Langombaya in Malindi turned against him. On Fool's Day, April the 1st this year, a gang stormed his house and attacked him. The gang chopped off his hands and badly injured his legs and private parts. He said the gang members kept shouting that he was behind the death of his son killed by the hippo. Kenga also sought refuge at Mekagatili Wamenza Rescue Center in Malindi County. He recorded a statement at the Langobaya police station in Malindi last Wednesday demanding his attackers be arrested and punished. So why were they not arrested? I mean, they attacked him. It's clear they attacked him. Why did this take so long? Kenga was accompanied by officials of the Haki Yetu organization, a Catholic church-run human rights organization based in Mombasa County. The father of 5 briefly visited his home and shared tears as he reunited with his family members before he was taken back to the rescue center.
These fellows attacked this man because he thought he was a witch.
He was a warlock.
Sorry, because he thought he was
witch
a warlock.
Witch has to be female.
Oh, it's like a nurse. Okay.
Look, no.
Witch must be female. It's true. I get it. Okay. So they attacked him because he was thought to be a warlock.
Yes.
Okay.
Muganga.
Sawa.
Mchawi.
Sawa.
Okay.
Muganga could be herbalist.
Yes.
It's true. Okay.
So Mchawi.
So they decided his son got killed by a hippo. You know River Sabaki? Hippos actually live in water. And River Sabaki is a water body. So hippo habitat, son killed by hippo. Hippos have been known to kill human beings. But someone decided that the hippo didn't just do it on his own. Yes, they decided that Katana Kenga is the one who sent the hippo.
This same man who they chopped his hand.
That's
why they chopped his
hand. Because they claimed he had powers to send hippos to kill people.
Oh, God.
Where?
Okay. I can't even wrap my head around that. So who's he seeking justice from?
Authorities.
Okay. He's gone to
against the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Against those that attacked him.
Yes, and he's saying that those who attacked him should be arrested. Yes.
Okay.
And also, you see, this isn't the first time that hippos have attacked people on River Sabaki. That is for certain. So the question they're asking is, why did these people feel that it was their duty to attack this man? This country.
Buana.
Now, the government
is
buying maize.
Government.
Is buying maize for 4,000 shillings. Farmers have said it's not going to happen. The very least we can take...
What's not going to happen?
The 4,000. You want to give us 4,000? We're not giving you the maize for 4,000 shillings. You get it? The very least that we can take for us to even say we are here without making a profit is 5,500 shillings. So this 4,000 you want to give us is like saying, I didn't plant anything and I did not harvest. It's farmers in the North Rift, and they've insisted that the government should set product price for current harvest at 5,500 shillings for 90 kg bag to enable them return to farm next season. So this 4,000 shillings that you want to give us, you're basically saying take 4,000 shillings and go and start selling kibiriti because we cannot survive. Okay? They said that it's too low based on the skyrocketing cost of fuel, the depreciating value of the shilling, among other operation costs. They claimed, unlike tea, coffee, and sugarcane subsectors that had received government attention, maize, the country's staple food, has been ignored. Their demands were made after a day-long meeting in Eldoret, and it came days after Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi announced that the government will spend 4 billion to purchase 1 million bags in the current season. for strategic food reserves. The CS said the stocks would be purchased through the NCPB, which is the National Cereals and Produce Board. They will finally open their gates. They've been closed for some time across the country. The stores, however, are yet to be opened. But the farmer said, nice plan. However, count us what?
We want 5,500.
At the very least.
Because of why?
Because
what's their cost? Are they saying their cost is above 5,000?
Their cost is above 4,000.
Is above 4,000.
Yeah, so if you give them 4,000, you're basically doing nothing. So they said, for us to even say, okay, we've made back the money that we've put into this thing in the first place, give us 5,500. As in, you've basically said, come and plant for us the whole year. We'll give you we're basically working for you. We've not even made anything. But this 4,000, we'll sell it to Malawi.
How did the government come up with the figure of 4,000?
So they said they're spending 4 billion. And they want to buy 1 million. They did not ask you how much you spent and whatever. They said they have 4 billion and they know that they're buying 1 million bags. So do the math. It comes to 4,000.
This is a constant point.
There must be some metrics used by the government to arrive at the figure of 4.
There
must be.
It's not guesswork.
There must be. Why are we saying 4
and not 3,500?
Yes, exactly. And not 3,500.
Why are the farmers saying no?
Farmers have already seen that. They've come up with their own number and they've said fuel, inputs, etc. 4,000 doesn't cut it. They've done their math and they've said in order for them to even just be even, pay them 5,500.
Can an independent arbitrator come into this thing and understand? Because really,
let the market forces play.
Sometimes
those who want to sell at 4,000 sell at 4,000 to the cereals board.
The rest of you can refuse and take it to market.
Go to sell to someone else.
No. Why is it that every year when you have a harvest, there's a story? Always. Why?
We said this even at the beginning of this whole planting season. We said there will be some disagreement at the point of selling. Because the government is saying we have reduced the cost of fertilizer from this to this.
So we should be able to.
So your cost of production has also then dropped.
But then there's also the rising cost of fuel and all these other things that they say has affected
We have brought drying machines. We're helping you with the drying, doing all these things. What's your cost? This is a conversation.
It is.
There was that case of a man called Eric Maigo, who was a former finance boss of Nairobi Hospital, who was found murdered, right?
Yes.
Stabbed you 25 times.
Yeah. A very bizarre case. And then there was a photo of a certain lady seen jumping over a fence and police looking for her. And police later finding her and arresting her. Now, that woman, Anne Odhiambo Auma, also known as Nat, has admitted to killing Eric Maigo. She pleaded guilty to the charges before High Court Judge Kanyi Kimondo in a virtual session. She pleaded 3 times before Justice Kimondo when the murder charges were read to her in Kiswahili. The judge asked her several questions as whether she understood the charge read to her by the clerk. He further told her there are consequences of pleading guilty to the charges. Auma admitted in affirmative that she was aware of the consequences and that she indeed killed Maigo. Justice Kimondo directed that she consults with her lawyer's father. She'll appear before the High Court Judge, Diana Mochache, on November 8th at Kibera Law Court for plea taking related to murder charges. According to the prosecution, the accused murdered the deceased in September at Woodley. After the incident, Auma, who's a resident of Kibera, went to hiding for several days. Police pursued her before she was apprehended and presented in court under miscellaneous application. During her presentation in court for the first time, police sought 21 days to complete investigations. The court ordered that she remains in custody for the 21 days. On Wednesday, the case investigating officer closed the miscellaneous application after establishing that police had gathered enough evidence to charge her with murder. Since her arrest, her lawyers claimed she was a minor, but on Thursday, it was established that she is over 18.
Did she know? I'm with the judge here, who is confirming whether she knew what she was acquiescing to.
She was asked many times.
Yeah, and
She said, I understand what you're asking me.
Mm.
Yes, I killed the man.
Voila.
Do you plead guilty? Yes, I plead guilty. You know this has serious consequences.
She said yes.
Si nimesema yes.
A why question comes up, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
What
Yep.
brought this about?
What happened that made her say this at this point?
Mm-hmm.
You have to ask.
If indeed she did kill,
Yeah.
why did she kill in the manner
That she
Which
did.
she did.
Mm.
Because many people will tell you, if you look at what psychologists say, especially with cases like this, when you have a stabbing of this nature several times, because they say that the stabbing is, with several stab wounds like that, it's intimate in nature. So you have to ask the question that what on earth was going on here? Plus, we've already heard, looking at her age, she's significantly younger than he. You have to ask why.
What happened? Very, very, very. We'll see. It will come. City, you're a member of a board in several companies, aren't you? Is that yes or is that yes?
No, the is continue.
No, confirm.
As in you and the layer. You know, means many
Continue.
things.
You know, KRA, Deputy Commissioner for Policy and Tax Advisory, Esther Wahome, had written a letter dated September 13th, where she had said directors of state corporations and private companies are supposed to pay the housing tax because they earn an income for rendering a service like any other workers.
So she imagines.
She said, therefore, affordable housing levy is applicable to all employees, including directors, notwithstanding their terms of engagement or contracts.
Again, she imagines that because you're a director or a shareholder,
you can tell me what to do.
You're not only that, you can't tell me what to do, but you're assuming that you earn money.
Ate? Oh, well, they're assuming that you as a director owns money. Earns money. Okay.
If that company files and says, you know, we paid an allowance to City Muga, sitting allowance for board meeting, that is an income. From that income, she expects you to remit housing levy.
That one she has made clear, but she's assuming that when you have meetings, you are of necessity paid an allowance. There are times you're not paid an allowance because it doesn't exist.
Sawa. Those ones are okay. If you're doing it pro bono, it's fine.
It's not pro bono.
There's
no money.
For as long as you're not doing it pro bono. If there's some money that you've been paid, even if you'll be paid in arrears, utalipa hiyo kitu.
When I'm paid in arrears, I will let her know.
Now, the Attorney General has weighed in on this matter. He says, no. This one does not apply. He explained that based on the Principal Act on Employment, the Employment Act of 2007, Section 2 defines the term employee as a person employed for wages or a salary. Contrary to the position taken by KRA in its internal legal advisory, categorizing board members as secondary employees, we are of the opinion that the same is not supported in law, the Employment Act, and is further alien to the reigning jurisprudence. So the Attorney General, Justin Muturi, says, apana. Board members of state corporations and private entities, those are not primary employees of that company. So, nope. Telling them as due to pay. So then now, after this, they'll come and talk about income tax then. As well.
If they're going to go into that, then it means that if you're a member of a board of management, because whenever you have a meeting in a school, you're paid 1,000 shillings.
Bas,
lipa housing. 1,000, lipa housing. Come on, housing is more than that 1,000.
If it is called a board member's income, if it is called transport reimbursement, you see that's something different. Depends on how they categorize it.
They don't just go the whole hog.
If it is transport reimbursement, it's transport reimbursement.
Then we will change that board fee to transport reimbursement.
So Omi might be in a bit of a pickle.
Then now they'll start saying that's an allowance.
Allowance is taxable.
KRA, now they will find you. I am in a hole. Really?
Really?
Niko na shovel.
That hole is a house.
Yes.
You need to pay rent.
Yes. It has no roof.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's all right. Fine. Why do you live in a house without a roof?
Fine.
Yes.
Time for the news, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The Director of the Criminal Investigations Homicide Department has defended the lengthy period of time taken to release the bodies of the Shakahola massacre victims to their kin, noting that most of the exhumed remains were severely decomposed, thus necessitating a more time-consuming identification process. The department says it resolved to using bones or teeth to identify most of the victims, as only a third of the bodies could be identified using fluids. The homicide unit is expected to enter the fifth and final phase of exhumation exercise, which began in April and where so far 429 bodies are being recovered. As part of preparations ahead of the final phase of exhumation, the department has received more shells from the Kenya Red Cross Society, which will be used to make a mobile mortuary to store any recovered bodies, while making it easier for police to identify the recovered remains. Now, the Azimio coalition has opposed the decision by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula to recognize the Jubilee Party as independent based on the current leadership. The minority leader in the National Assembly, Okoh, has said that the decision violates the constitution because Jubilee was one of the parties that created the Azimio coalition party. Wandai wants Speaker Wetangula to review his decision, saying it is an oppression of the multi-party democratic system. The leaders say Azimio is a union party registered in accordance with the rules of the Register of Political Parties, so it cannot be an independent party. It is a statement that has also been emphasized by Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, who has accused Wetangula of suppressing the freedom of political parties in Parliament.
Moses Masika Wetangula, Papa wa Roma, he must become more decent and tidier than he is doing. He is going to go down as the worst speaker we have had since 1963. He is the one auctioning multi-party democracy in this country on a very dirty altar. He started by taking away the majority position from Azimio.
Jubilee members in support of the embattled Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni have announced that they will initiate the process of removing members of parliament elected through the party from various parliamentary committees. The wing claims that the MPs were seconded to the committees by Jubilee, and the decision to cooperate with Kenya Kwanza goes against the party constitution. They have now asked Minority Whip Mark Mwenje to consult with the Minority Leader in the National Assembly and start the process immediately, since they were appointed while in Azimio. At the same time, the former Jubilee Deputy Chair David Murade, who has declared himself as the chair of the party, has said that the Jubilee Disciplinary Committee will start taking action against MP Sabina Chege and Karen Kega as soon as the cases concerning the leadership of the party are concluded.
Once we are properly in office by the court, the first agenda business will be to denominate Sabina Chege na Kanini Kega. Sahi, I am the acting chairman of this party because chairman amepewa kazi na Ruto, na kwa dinti ya kupewa hiyo kazi amesisi kuwa official ya nini? Ya chama.
On his part, Kioni has said that the party will meet Tuesday in order to give direction to its members and to announce a change in the leadership of the various leadership committees of the party.
Our constitution allows us to call another NEC meeting ili mwenye anafikiria hakuitwa ajue na nataka kutangaza ya kwamba we will have another follow-up meeting next week Tuesday, including the new members of IDRC, the National Disciplinary Committee, Internal Dispute Resolution Committee, and members of NEB.
Tension is high in Samburu County following the killing of 3 people by suspected cattle rustlers. The attacks, which took place in the villages of Nolre and Lamolok, have affected Lorian and Napura primary schools, with 6 people injured and 156 cattle stolen. Parents are now concerned about the upcoming KCPE national exams in those schools and are requesting additional security personnel to be deployed to the area.
Serikali iongeze maafisa wa polisi na watie bidii katika hiyo kazi ya kumaliza hii ujambazi, kwa sababu sasa kila watu wamewasha yatima, watoto kila siku wanapoteza wasasi wanapoteza watoto, so unakuta ya kwamba kila siku ni kilio.
Ningeomba huyu minister wa interior Honorable Kindiki tuashua ya kwamba Lorian Primary na Pro Primary watafanya mtihani yao salama kama wale watoto wengine. Hawa ni watoto wa Kenya, wako na haki ya kufanya mtihani kama wale watoto wengine.
The injured are receiving treatment while the police have intensified patrols against the cattle rustlers. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseda, good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Friday, because everything that we're looking at looks like you'll be able to get where you're going real quick today and not held up by much. There's movement on Limuru Road this morning, and we're looking at a pileup as you get to the CBD. But it's moving, and so heightened traffic means that we'll get out of that real quick. Also looking then coming in from the Pangani underpass, we're seeing some bumper-to-bumper action there as well. And Kiambu Road is also packing up a bit, but this is normal, everyday kind of occurrence. We're looking at less traffic on the roads. Schools have closed. Jogo Road is also busy here and there, in and outbound as you get towards Landis. Outbound traffic probably be a thing closer to traffic hour, but we're going to wait and see what that looks like. But we're all right for now. And let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X as we keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power. And Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound,
7
a
after
man
7,
who
how are you doing?
believes in
Welcome
punching
to
up,
Friday. If you're
not
just joining
down.
us, welcome to Kenya's biggest
This is
conversation
the
on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and on Facebook. We're here until 10 a.m. today. And if you haven't watched the new show on Maisha Magic Plus, you are missing a lot. My friend, this show started this week. It's called Zari. And Zari is a very interesting show on Maisha Magic Plus on DSTV channel 163 and GoTV channel 3. Who's that behind us? There's somebody behind us.
Yes.
She's doing the work. We're a hard-working country. Yeah. She's up and early. She's doing the job that she's here to do. So, Zari on Maisha Magic Plus. What's happening today?
So,
Today's episode.
Today's
episode.
Now the
of
thing has
Zari.
Okay, so we're looking at a situation whereby people wanted to confront each other.
Yes.
You took my baby. Actually, I gave you my baby to raise, and then now 20
Zari.
years.
That is Kasiri.
No, that's Zari. Okay, where are we now?
Zari.
Dylan has accepted
Yes,
Dola
that
as
one.
his daughter.
That's the one. That's Zari.
That's what I was saying now.
This is what happens when there are many movies.
Okay. Sawa.
That's what I was saying now. So the question now becomes, after I gave you my baby, you suddenly now want to keep her for yourself. And I have said, no, I want my child back, not after 20 years. Me, who has raised her for 20 years, actually, I'm thinking, I like this child and I want her to remain my own. So how about we plot twist? How about this child can remain mine? Alozi said, no, I want my baby back. And we're looking at now how all this unfolds. Tonight, 8:30 p.m. on DSTV channel 163, GoTV channel 3. And you can also download the My DSTV or the My GoTV app on *423# and get and stay connected.
Indeed. This Sunday from 6 a.m., if you watch KTN, you will see the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon live. Okay? People have registered. Everything is all set. Sunday, Uhuru Gardens. Poof. People start running. Now, some roads will be closed. And if you buy the Standard today, you'll find it on page 7 of the Standard. The road closures and traffic diversions have been announced there. We are going to be running on the southern bypass. So, of course, some roads that are joining the the southern bypass are going to be closed. Those ones include from Kikuyu to Dagoretti via southern bypass. Vehicles will be able to access Dagoretti from Kikuyu through the southern bypass. From Karen, vehicles will be able to use the southern bypass to access Kikuyu from Karen through Dagoretti Road. From 12 a.m. to 12:10 p.m. Sunday, Karen Shopping Center to Kikuyu via southern bypass, use Dagoretti Road. Karen Shopping Center, Mombasa Road via southern bypass, vehicles use Langata Road. Langata Road from the Galleria Mall to Kikuyu via southern bypass, use Dagoretti Road via Langata Road. So all these will be telling you about the closures from there. But then roads will be closed from midnight. That's Saturday night until midday on Sunday to make room for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. Now, it's the month of October. It's usually the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as we come to the final Friday of October, let's have this conversation on breast cancer awareness and the load in the country, the disease load in the country, and how we're dealing with it. We're joined by two people in the studio. Dr. Dalcy Wanda is a Senior House Officer, Radiation Oncology Registrar at the Kenyatta National Hospital. And Dr. Hussein Dimbil is General Medical Practitioner at Zazi Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you. Good morning.
Karibuni sana.
Asante.
Now we're going to have a conversation about, this is usually a conversation that many people think that they understand, but then we realize that there's a lot we do not understand, especially when it comes to diagnosis, management, treatment of cancers and breast cancer. But to welcome you to the conversation, let's start with the day's proverb. CT has been giving us proverbs from Zanzibar the whole of this week.
Yes.
And the proverbs, of course, come in Kiswahili. So assignment number 1, listen to the proverb. Assignment number 1A, translate proverb into English. Assignment number 1B, interpret the proverb. CT? No, we are starting, the final KCP is happening next week. So this is it. KCP has multiple choice, but this one, 0 multiple choice. Yeah.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe. Dr. Wanda, into English.
I think it means that the eye is more powerful. What it can see and what it can interpret is very, very deep. And it has to do with also the saying, macho hayana pazia, I think. Sina uhakika lakini. I'm not sure what that means. But I think the eye is very keen. It can peer through sharper than something that has a sharp edge.
Okay. That is 1B. Where is 1A? Direct translation.
Direct translation.
For those that don't understand Kiswahili.
Makali ya jicho ati makali ya macho. Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
The sharpness of the eye is sharper than a razor, perhaps.
Dr. Dimbil?
I was thinking the same, like the sharpness of the eye is sharper than a blade. And that it might point out to our eyes can pierce through our souls, maybe sometimes sharper than a razor can.
Have you ever heard of this? People say, ameniangalia la macho mbaya.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Precisely. No, does it mean that the eyes were bad? What does it mean?
It's the look. It's the look.
And what does the look portend?
The feelings of the person.
Exactly. And sometimes that look can be a much firmer message than any words can utter.
Interesting.
Makali ya macho hayana pazia.
Azi makali ya macho hayana pazia.
All right. Karibuni sana daktari.
Thank you.
Let's start with defining breast cancer.
Okay.
Who do you want to start? Let's start with you, Dr. Dembele.
Okay. Breast cancer can't be specified as one specific disease. It is a conglomerate of conditions, but basically it is abnormal cells that grow out of control within breast tissues, and if not found or detected early, can spread to other organs via lymph nodes and lymph vessels or blood vessels.
Okay.
Does that sound complex?
Not really.
Okay.
It's just unwanted things happening.
Yeah. So pretty much every time you're alive, there are cells that are dividing, including breast cells. So what happens is one cell that stops having the normal division. A normal cell should grow, divide, and die off. So you have a problem in the genetic makeup of that cell, such that it divides uncontrollably. It doesn't die when it should. It has the ability to break off, go into the blood system, and go to another organ. So that's one of the signs of a cancerous tissue, that it's able to invade. It's able to leave the bounds of where it should be, invade, break off, and even go colonize a different organ. So that's what breast cancer is. So it's that one cell that is irregularly dividing within the breast that now makes a group of cells that are abnormal.
So you're saying it is a cancer?
Yes.
It just so happens this one
starts in the breast.
It starts in the breast.
Yes.
Is there something peculiar about the breast that it would make this form in this manner? Because, yes, we have cancers of other areas in the body, but this one in the breast, is there something about it that would then say, it would create a condition through which now this cell would behave abnormally?
Yes, there is. So the breast is very sensitive to hormones. If you look at development and during puberty, exposure to estrogen makes the breast grow. As women, we have the monthly cycle where estrogen levels go up and down depending on the time of the cycle. And that is a good environment for those cells because they respond to hormones. And you'll find majority of the cancers that develop are hormone receptor positive. And that points to the risk factors of breast cancer, that if you're having a long period of exposure to estrogen, for example, you have your child after the age of 30, you do not breastfeed, because when you breastfeed, then you almost have 3 months of not having estrogen levels being high in the body. If you do not have children altogether, that's a risk factor. And all these risk factors I've mentioned initially are pointing to estrogen, the hormone. So the breast is special because it responds to estrogen hormone, a hormone that we have as women. However, breast cancer is not just in women. We have a percentage that is found in men. It's a lower percentage, but remember, since they lack breast tissue, then it means it's more aggressive. For a lady, there is space for the tumor to grow and thrive within the breast. But for men, their breast tissue is very minimal, meaning it is easy for it to go to the bone and eventually into the lung. And since most of the cancers present a painless lump, it means presentation always almost happens late, both for women and men.
Okay.
What makes it move from the breast?
Maybe you can take that, Dr.
Okay, what makes it move from the breast is initially there are different stages of cancer. It starts from stage 0 to stage 4. Now, initially, stage 0, it is within its own walls or the cell walls of the original cell that it comes from the breast tissue. Now, as it moves forward, as the cancer grows, it grows out of the endothelium or the cell that it originates from. Now, as it goes on to stage 2 and stage 3, it reaches a point where it connects or it gets in touch with the vessels that we were talking about recently, like the blood vessels or lymph vessels, which carry a fluid called lymph. Now, when that happens, it spreads via those vessels to different organs, and that is the initial way that it spreads to various different organs.
Are there parts of the body where this cell could go and not find conducive?
Not really.
Not really. Actually, cancer, metastasis, so when you're talking about a piece of cancer that has broken off from the original tissue, when it moves, we call that metastasis. So the only parts of the body that metastasis wouldn't happen are the parts of the body that are dead. And that we're talking about hair, We're talking about the outer part of the teeth and maybe nails. But as long as there's blood vessels, remember, a piece of the cancer is breaking off and going into circulation. So it will be pumped with the heart. So wherever that can go, it is possible to have the tumor breaking and going. However, we do know there are certain areas it's more common to go. For example, the lungs, the liver, the brain, and bone. And that really guides how we do the staging test. Once one has been diagnosed with cancer, then we would really want to know a CT scan of the chest. That's imaging of the chest to know has it gone to lung, because we know it's possible. Then we'll do a scan for the abdomen to know has it gone to liver. And that kind of guides us to stage the patient. As Dr. had mentioned, staging is important for us to know how are we managing the patient.
Okay.
I have two questions, but the first one then. So does the
yes,
of this particular cancer then lend to it being the most, let's go look at breast cancer as the number one cancer. Does that lend to it being now the most widespread cancer because of its peculiar nature? Is that why we're saying that it is the one that is, that we see most of?
So I think we go back to the fact that we have estrogen in the body. And that's a normal hormone a woman has. So that puts it at risk. There are other risks forever. Maybe, for example, having radiation as a child, maybe for a tumor during childhood. We're talking about obesity as a risk factor. We're talking about alcohol and cigarette smoking as risk factors. So when you look at this, there's some that are lifestyle, there's some that are modifiable risk factors. We can do something about it, like not being obese, working out, ensuring we are taking balanced diet, food that's not rich in very unsaturated fats. We are also reducing our cigarette smoking, stopping actually, that is what is recommended, and alcohol, really putting it at an all-time low, or perhaps if possible totally stopping to reduce the risk. And then there are those that are genetic. For example, if we have BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene, like we know Angelina Jolie, she had the BRCA gene, and that made her know she's at a high risk of getting cancer, and that helped her have surgery before she had her boobs and the womb removed. And that reduces her risk, because we know the genetic aspect of it makes her risks very high, almost like what people now in Kenya would say sure bet, it's gonna come because you have the risk factor. So I guess the fact that they're genetics, the fact that there is the hormonal, the fact that there are things that are modifiable that we are not doing would help us understand why is cancer on the all-time high. The other thing is, despite the fact that cancer is on all-time high, we can screen and get the lesion before it even shows as a lump. And that's what we're really encouraging people to do, to get it before it's a lump, because that really helps how we can treat the patients and the outcomes that they can have.
So if we talk about you finding cancer in the breast, and then it can spread to other places, it can spread to the lymph nodes, it can spread to the lungs. Is it still breast cancer?
Yes.
So it leaves breast, and so it remains in the breast for sure, but then it goes to the lungs. Is it still classified as breast cancer even though it's present in the lungs, for example?
Yes, it is classified as breast cancer. It is just a metastasis. It is part of that cancerous cell that has spread to another organ, but it's still, even if you take a biopsy of those cells, it's still the same cells as the ones that originated from the breast.
So for the longest time, we say that the stages we talk about 0 to 4, and for the longest time we've been told over and over again, screen regularly, do this, do that, because if you then are able to catch cancer in the preliminary stages, the possibility of you then healing completely from it then are very high, or then the interventions that would then be required can then come in early. What is it that would be done at this level 0, 1, 2 to stop this spread that would not be done if you find it at 3 or 4?
All right. So cancer can be managed in a variety of ways. We can have surgery, broadly. We can have chemotherapy. We can have radiotherapy, and we can even have targeted therapy. So for most cancers, if you're able to remove the tumor totally, then you reduce the chances of the tumor coming back. You reduce the chances of it metastasizing. So that's the advantage when we catch it like at stage 0, where it has not crossed the basement membrane. So it is very at a level that once you excise the tumor, you remove it, then you've removed the whole tumor. Then you'll have a chance to look at it under the microscope and see, is it fueled by estrogen? And if you find it's fueled by estrogen, then the plan is to give something to block estrogen. So there's a tablet you can give if someone is premenopausal called tamoxifen. If they're postmenopausal, you can give a tablet called letrozole or anastrozole, and that blocks the estrogen. So in short, what you're doing is like you've cut off the gas supply. So even if it's a vehicle and you cut off the gas supply, it's not going to move. So the advantage is that you will have fewer treatment mechanism if the tumor is early. You can have surgery, you can then have radiation and maybe the tablet. If this cancer has progressed, like it's big, it's maybe a T3 tumor, a large tumor more than 5 centimeters. We're talking about stage 3. There's heavy nodal involvement. The nodes in the axilla are involved by the disease. Then that means you have to start with chemotherapy first to shrink the tumor. Then you'll have to have surgery thereafter. Then chances are you'll have to have radiation, and possibly if it's hormone receptor, then you will have the tablet, meaning you will use more modalities of treatment for more advanced disease, meaning the side effects that you would get if you had only maybe 2 modalities compared to 4 modalities, you'd have more side effects. So the earlier we catch it, the less the treatment modalities we use, the higher the chances of you even having what we call breast conserving surgery. Remember, for women, breasts are more than just looking good. They represent who we are. And I always compare breasts to how men feel about their penis. So if we cut away the penis for the men, then I'm sure they'll be very uncomfortable. Pretty much that's what breasts represent. They represent who we are. It's the first thing when you look at a woman, you see it's the chest. And
no, you see the face. Sure.
Many men would refuse. That's what do you think? What do men see first?
Breasts.
They see the breast first. Let's be honest. So when
it's okay.
It's okay. We know the secret's out. The secret's out. So we know where. So that really affects a woman's self-esteem if one breast has been removed. So the earlier we catch breast cancer, then it means we can have breast conserving surgery, because the tumor is small, we'll remove enough tissue around it and still be able to reconstruct the breast, such that even if you looked at a woman, if she went swimming, if she wanted to wear a bikini, then it becomes much easier because her breasts are intact.
Okay. What are we looking at in terms of disease burden for Kenya, considering breast cancer today? A lot of women, if we look at when we started seeing the early diagnoses of breast cancer in Kenya and this region of the world, and then also looking at the western part of the continent, that a lot of medical practitioners, we didn't know what we were dealing with. Of course, times have changed now, where the science and the technology is much, much further along, and we can see. But now looking at disease burden for Kenya, what are we looking at now in terms of affected versus population?
I feel there is still a huge disease burden, because even though we are getting much better treatment modalities, we are still getting very improved mechanisms of surgeries. There is still a sense of ignorance, especially when we go to the less fortunate parts of society. And the WHO had stated that 1 in every 8 women are at risk of getting breast cancer. And that was a recent study that was done. And that being said, for example, I was seeing in one of our groups, there's a mama who's in Migori, and she had breast cancer. It had advanced, and she hadn't gone to hospital simply because she believed that with God's good grace from prayers and waganga, or these doctors were mtaa. She had her breast cancer advanced to stage 4, where when she came to the facility, there was very little that could be done. So the disease burden is still there. I feel for us people who are in metropolitan areas, we are more educated, but doing things like these where we need to reach out and spread the awareness to other parts of the country, I feel is very important, as opposed to the education that we are getting as us people who are more in the metropolitan regions.
Just to dampen the mood, 7 women die every day from breast cancer.
In Kenya alone?
Yes.
Okay.
Say that again.
7 women die every day from breast cancer. So, and sadly, they present late. By late, I mean when it's stage 3 and 4. So if you're losing 7 women, then that is quite a stark number.
Okay, Dr. Are these women who've already been diagnosed, they're under treatment, or is this a blanket figure that we're saying that even posthumously a test was done and you can find that this woman had breast cancer?
Yes.
Or are we saying these are women who are in treatment, who've been diagnosed, and they then pass as a result of the disease? What are we saying?
If we said that they're diagnosed, then people would feel being diagnosed is a risk factor to dying. So looking at the statistics and how the levels are increasing, then that's a statistics that is general to the population. Remember, when you're doing statistics to find out the incidence and also the mortality, then you're looking at a figure based on the population. So even if you look at the government documents by the National Cancer Program, that's a figure that has been put there. That is to help us see it is quite a large number.
It's huge.
It's huge. But what is the problem? It's because breast cancer and most cancers initially are not painful. So it's that lump you feel in your breast that's not painful. See, majority of the patients, I keep saying this anytime I get an opportunity, is we treat hospitals and doctors the way we treat police officers.
Yep.
When was the last time you went to the police station to say hi? Or I'm just here to find out, could there be a problem? Could we check on something? Is my car okay? We don't do that. So people come to hospital when they have pain. Because if it's painless, you're able to go to work. You're able to do your life.
Even with pain, people still continue.
Yeah,
and say,
depending on the
it'll go off.
threshold
Right.
of pain.
Yeah.
So we're talking about women and men being what we call breast aware. Know your breasts. Feel your breasts. Get a medical practitioner to feel your breasts. If you're above 40, get a mammogram done. Like, what's the excuse? In October, everybody's talking about breast cancer. We even wear the pink lapel just to remind everybody to get your breast screened. And that really helps. If you're below 30, then get an ultrasound done so that we can catch these lesions before you can feel them.
Okay.
Let's take a break. 29 minutes to 8. We are having a breast cancer conversation today, Health Friday, joined by Dr. Dalcy Wanda from the Kenyatta National Hospital. She is a radiation oncologist, and Dr. Hussein Dimbil, general medical practitioners at Equity Afya Kangemi. Keep it here for more. We're coming back shortly with this particular conversation. If you've got questions, you can post them on our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. We'll ask them.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalimia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu. Kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ, when he slapped those guys and walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
The Situation Room.
It's sunny in Nairobi at 15, highs of 25, and we're looking at sunny conditions at 15 in Nakuru, 16 and partly sunny in Nyeri, and looking into Eldoret, it's 13 cloudy conditions going to highs of 24. Mombasa this morning is sunny at 26, we'll see highs of 31, and we'll see mostly sunny conditions at 27 in Malindi, going to highs of 31. Kisumu is cloudy this morning at 22, and it'll go to highs of 27, and looking into a sunny Kakamega at 18, we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 15. Kampala is sunny at 20, Dar es Salaam is sunny at 26, and Johannesburg sunny at 17, going to highs of 32. Lagos is clear at 25 with highs of 31, and Kinshasa will see mostly cloudy conditions currently at 22, going to highs of 29. Okay, so it's now very busy coming out of industrial area and that quadrant, then onto the Likoni interchange. Jogo Road is also busy, and then coming in from the Thika Superhighway out into the CBD is also bumper to bumper. I guess it was a late start for a lot of folks, but we're in traffic hour now. We're looking at coming off of Muthaiga through towards Limuru Road, bumper to bumper in some parts. So look and see kind of thing. We're into traffic hour now. Let's see how this develops. Friday seems to be an easy one, but let's just cross our fingers and hope it remains that way. SpiceFM KE on X, talk to us there and keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
Conversation
done
continues
right.
Right here. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and in the Situation Room this morning on this Health Friday, we are having a breast cancer awareness conversation, joined by Dr. Dalsi Wanda from KNH. She's a radiation oncologist, and Dr. Hussein Dimbil, general medical practitioner from Equity Afia in Kangemi. You said how many people die every day?
7 women.
7 women.
Yes, die.
Every day.
Every day. From
How
breast
many
cancer.
are diagnosed every day?
I haven't seen that statistic that really talks about how many women per day, but we know in Kenya then we have about 16.1% of the population that has breast cancer. That still tells us it's a large population.
Yes, it
and sadly, when we go to work as oncologists, then what we see is devastating. What we see is traumatizing. What we see is difficult to handle because sadly, many patients stay with the lesions for very long, for very, very long. So when you come when the disease is quite advanced, it reduces what we're able to do. It reduces the chances of you getting cure because you find the lesion most probably has gone to another organ. So I guess it's important for the messaging to go out there. Feel your breast. If you have a lump, let it get examined. The earlier we get it, the better. And that really helps to make sure we stop seeing these very large lesions, these wounds in the breast, or these heavy burden of disease.
Do men also get breast cancer?
Yes, men do get breast cancer. 1% of all cases of breast cancer is found in men. WHO stated that 1 in 836 men will develop breast cancer once in their lifetime.
Okay.
But just as Dr. had mentioned, the risk factors vary, just like for our ladies, and it varies based on age. It varies based on hormone exposure. So men who might be going through changes of gender, for example, might have that. And men who might have conditions such as Klinefelter syndrome. Have you ever heard of Klinefelter syndrome?
Sorry.
It's called Klinefelter syndrome. It's when a man is born with an extra X chromosome.
I see.
So it's an XXY chromosome. As men, we're born with XY.
Yeah.
As women, you're born with XX. But there can be a genetic mutation and a child is born with an XXY.
I should have paid more attention in my birth.
Yeah, so it varies, but it is, as Dr. Ali mentioned, very aggressive in men. So it is very hard to manage.
Something that always comes up in discussion when we talk of this proliferation of cancer, we're talking about breast cancer. So let's focus on breast cancer. Is it that it's on the increase? Is it that we're able to diagnose better? Is it that we're more? What is it? And if indeed the proliferation is something that has happened, whether it is climate change related, whether it is dietary, whatever it is, what is it? What exactly are we seeing with regards to what we are now calling a proliferation of breast cancer?
So I guess it's multifactorial. I would say it's multifactorial in the sense that, one, as we move from being least developed to less developed to middle income, then we're having a more sedentary lifestyle. The more sedentary our lifestyle is, it means even for men, they have obesity. When men are obese, then they have higher levels of estrogen produced from the fatty tissues, and that is a risk factor to getting breast cancer. So there is the lifestyle changes that we're seeing. We are also seeing improvements in diagnostics. Previously, all the CT scans and the machines that would help and the mammograms were in Nairobi and in Kenyatta National Hospital. But through the efforts done by the government, then these machines have been taken to the counties as part of the decentralization. And that has helped improve diagnostics on the ground. Previously, we only had a handful of oncologists. Now we have a training program in Kenya to train oncologists. Previously, they all had to go to maybe South Africa or Tanzania or the West. But now we have a local program at the University of Nairobi. That means greater access to our doctors to specialize in oncology. And that means then there's what to do with the patient. Previously, maybe you're in Lokitang and you find breast cancer. Then what do you do? Then pretty much it doesn't even make sense to do a biopsy. It didn't make sense to even find out whether they have cancer, because what will you do? They'll not come to Nairobi. Their poverty levels are quite high. But now that we have oncologists decentralized, that helps. So there's what we can do. So that is motivating even doctors to do more screening, motivating people to actually know. And then there is awareness campaigns that, like today you've had in the morning. This gives people an opportunity to hear about breast cancer, to think, does the lump I have, should I go to hospital? Is it important? And maybe we really hope that this messaging will encourage someone to actually go to hospital and get screened.
Because look, you've shown us some pictures this morning, obviously, and we've seen some of these. What is, and obviously you're having conversations with patients, and you aghast sometimes when you think, what would make somebody sit at home with this level of disease? So when you have conversations, because I know reasons that we've heard as to why people do, but for a medical practitioner, what are they saying as to the reasons why they don't come to hospital earlier?
Well, some mentioned that they were busy. They had a child in class 8. They said, I'll focus on it later. Remember, it's not painful. So it will not stop you from going about your business. It's not going to give you a fever. You're not going to vomit. You're just going to have a lump that you feel maybe when you shower or when you focus on your breast. Pretty much the rest of your time, you're fine. So that makes people not really think of coming to hospital. They can always do other things first and push that away. Secondly, it's the denial. Because sometimes it's even us health workers. You have a lump. There are times you think and you wonder, could it be cancer? And then you tell yourself it is not. And I do not have a lump. And you move on with life. So that denial, I think it comes from the fact that we are not having many survivors being given an opportunity to share the story. It's where we began with HIV. Remember, the messaging we had was a very skinny man with a metallic plate. And that was the messaging we had. And it was HIV kills, AIDS kills. And that was to instill fear. But later we realized it was counterproductive. When people would fear the disease, they would not even come for screening. And the messaging changed. And the people who now were the advocates, the assumptors of those days, were people who were fine, people who were working. And then people could relate a bit more with HIV and take the steps to get treated because they had examples of people who are doing well. So I feel if we have more advocates and more people speaking about their journey, then people can look. So even if I have cancer and this lump that I have is cancer, then maybe I'll be okay. And that can motivate them to go to hospital and get screened and get tested. And even if it's cancer, then they have someone to talk to. They'll talk to someone and ask, how did you do it? How did you cope? And that could help.
Dr. In this country, we've gotten to a point where people are, let me just put it bluntly, sort of losing faith with our health professionals. I take my car to the garage. My mechanic tells me, let's change the shocks. We change the shocks. I go to hospital. I am diagnosed with something and somebody will tell me, get a second opinion. And the second opinion will in many cases, vary from the first opinion. So you start questioning, what is this? Evans is saying, what type of diagnosis is appropriate? He says he has a friend who periodically did tests but was diagnosed with cancer. Passed on this year. I wonder if the tests were any guarantee or what was happening with those tests.
Was it a test? Did he go for an examination or was
he was going for cancer screening?
Cancer screening.
Okay. Now, for breast cancer specifically, I feel the gold standard of screening is a mammogram. A mammogram is an X-ray of the breast. And there's this one myth that people say that the mammogram or the X-ray can cause cancer or can make it spread, which is a misconception and a myth. The benefits of constantly screening with a mammogram outweighs the risks. And if you do a mammogram, it will show you if a lump is present. And after you visualize a lump, what we do, our oncologists do as well, is a tissue biopsy, where you take a biopsy gun, you take a bite of that tissue and you analyze it under a microscope. Now, if you do that, you will find out if the lump is benign, which means it's not carcinogenic and it cannot cause cancer or spread, and if it is malignant. From there, then you can analyze which treatment option based on the cancer tissue that has been found. And I feel that we need to empower our healthcare professionals as well, because one thing we need to know is, especially in our public healthcare facilities, they're not all the same. They're not all as well equipped as we might say Kenyatta is or Nakuru PGH is. And we need to have a workforce that can support each other, because I believe if you are a doctor working a 24-hour shift or a 36-hour shift, you will not be as productive as two doctors who are alternating 12-hour shifts. And that's one thing we need to know. We need to improve on our human resource recruitment.
Of the numbers of lumps that are found, are the majority of them malignant as opposed to benign?
So it depends on the age bracket.
Okay.
Remember, in the West, breast cancer is seen above 40. In Africa and in Kenya particularly, our levels, we catch them very early. So it's the 30-year-olds, the 22-year-olds. Not all breast lumps are malignant. However, some breast lumps are malignant. So when we talk about it in general, not all breast lumps are malignant. Majority of them could be benign. But the only way to know, it's not the number of lobes, it's not how many they are, it's not how they feel. You can only tell if a lump is malignant by what Dr. Ari mentioned.
Right.
Taking it to the lab,
Yeah.
having it examined under the microscope to see whether there are some cells that are malignant. So the lump might have areas that are not malignant, but if a certain part of it has malignancy, it needs to be addressed.
Okay. There was a campaign, I think it was 2 years ago, when, and I mean, the words that were used were, look, these are breasts, touch them. And the point was to be able to see if there was any kind of abnormality. And I guess we're still saying that today, whether it is you who is doing a self-test or whether it is, a medical practitioner. But obviously, the regularity would be more with you as an individual. What are the chances of you finding something if you are regularly, examining your own breasts?
Okay. I would like to mention that other than finding a lump, there are other changes that you need to look out for.
Okay.
You need to look out for. Because sometimes you might find these changes and not the lump.
Okay.
And this includes how your nipple anatomy is. If you have nipple inversion, your nipple is facing inwards as opposed to facing outwards.
Okay.
That is one very important sign you need to look out for. You also need to look out
As in
for...
suddenly it changes and starts pointing inwards?
Yeah. It changes, the anatomy changes. So
Okay.
you need to look out for your nipple. You also need to look out for any discharge from your nipple. So any blood, any discharge of abnormal sorts other than milk. Milk is life. Other than milk. And also you need to see the area or the skin surrounding your nipple and your areola. Is it reddish? Is it dimpling? Dimpling, I mean, you see how the orange looks.
Yeah.
Those indentations of the orange. That's what I'm talking about. So you need to see it holistically. And see, the beauty of it is if you are regularly doing your breast exams, you will notice a difference. For example, asymmetry as well. Your breast symmetry, one is more asymmetrical than the other. If you do that regularly, you will notice a difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And it kind of means that women have and men have to have this normal behavior of looking at their breasts. That means having a mirror in front of you and standing in front of you of the mirror and looking at the breast, because some of the changes, like you mentioned, will be very subtle at the beginning, and they need, and I know men don't have a good relationship with the mirror, but this is the time, unless you're wearing a tie, I think most men don't use the mirror.
The mirror isn't the problem.
What is the problem?
I'm just imagining myself standing in front of the mirror looking at my
Naked.
breasts. No, the naked bit isn't the problem.
Oh, okay.
It's me staring at my own breasts. That's the thing I'm trying to figure out. Here I'm looking, and I'm thinking, okay, All right, but anyway, please go on.
Yeah, so when we get over the fear of looking at our own breast, then you would stand in front of a mirror and you put your hands maybe on your waist, and that would help you see, because as you move the hands to put them on the waist, then you would see the muscles beneath the breast and how the breast would move. So if you notice one is moving and the other one looks fixed, then that's a sign that you need to look out for. Then you'd put your hands behind your head and pretty much observe and see whether your breasts are moving symmetrically. You're looking at the skin. Is there dimpling? Is there like a dimple now on your breast that wasn't there before? He mentioned the discharge. He's mentioned the skin. Or is there a lump? Is the size increased? So you see, if you know what's your normal every month, if there is a change, you'll be able to notice it. Then we recommend uniformity of when you feel your breasts. Remember, for women, it changes with your menstrual cycle. So if you can do it mid-cycle, I think when you say mid-cycle, it's a bit hard to process, but you say 10 days after your menses, that's pretty simple. You can put a reminder on your phone because many women have an app that's monitoring their menses. So if you add that on to be the things you do, and then that would tell us you can catch it early. However, before you can see the changes, before you can feel the changes, then a mammogram would catch it even before, meaning earlier on. So it's important for us to go for breast cancer screening in the form of a mammogram if you're above 40. If you're about below 40, then we're talking about an ultrasound and also a clinical breast exam. Remember, as doctors, we feel a lot of breasts, meaning a change that perhaps you might feel is just normal nodularity, we might be able to pick out.
Yeah.
It's like if I am a fisherman, their chances of me catching fish are better than someone who does it for sport.
Right.
If it's my profession, then definitely I
know.
know where the fish are. I become an expert. So that's the same with physicians who are actually doing breast examinations every day. The chances of them picking it out are better. And if you look at the guidelines, then self-breast exam has been put as an adjunct. It is not a diagnosis. Even clinical breast exam is part of an adjunct, but it is more likely to get a lump compared to when you do it yourself, because that's not what you do for a living.
Can I ask this question? When you look at the statistics about relating to breast cancer, do you have statistics about the numbers of healthcare providers who are diagnosed and those who die from breast cancer?
Well, I haven't seen a particular study just focusing on health professionals, but we are in the population. So when we talk about 16%, then we are included in that number. When we talk about seven women dying every day, then we wouldn't seclude ourselves from the general population. So that will be a good study. But I'm wondering, what's your line of thought?
Exactly. When you brought in HIV, one of the things that was determined was part of the problem to people understanding HIV were not the reluctance of patients, but the reluctance of the care providers. They themselves had issues of stigma relating to HIV. So in conveying required messages and in actually doing what they were supposed to do, they themselves hadn't come to terms with the issues around HIV. So when it came to them providing the care that was required, because they themselves had issues, there was a limitation in the provision of care that they could have.
Well, it's very true. And I think sometimes the fear or the worry that a healthcare provider has would be different from someone who doesn't work in hospital. Remember, the patients who come to hospital with cancer are very sick. So when you go for screening, those are the images you have in your mind. So I guess that's part of the trauma of working in a health facility that you develop over time. But I guess the messaging we have even in the hospitals, or the messaging we have in the form of continuous medical education, is helping the healthcare providers actually take up the service. You'd find many facilities saying, we're going to have a breast cancer screening, but we are starting with our staff. We're going to find a then they actually put it as, have you come for the screening? And there's going to be maybe a ribbon that you get if you've gone, and maybe none if you haven't gone, and sort of to help you see the need to go for screening. So what I would say, this messaging applies to all of us. We are all in the population, healthcare workers, non-healthcare workers. We need to take it seriously. We need to see that the lives that are being lost currently are too many. Are too many, and we can do something about it. We can get screened even before we see the changes, and that means we'll catch the cancer early.
How much is a mammogram today? around the country. I know that there are some free ones, but how much is one? Because obviously looking at that as a factor, a determinant of how often people are going to go and get screened.
I feel it varies between public and private facilities. At Kenyatta, last I remember, it was 1,000 shillings, Daktari. Currently, for my facility, we're giving offers for the whole of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Equity Afya, so we're getting 50% off for mammograms for all cancer-related tests. So I think it varies.
So 50% off equates to?
For example, let's say the mammogram was 2,500, we're doing it for 1,500. Yeah. So if it's a PSA, we were doing for 2,500, we're doing for 1,500. So I would invite everyone before October ends to come to our facility at Equity Afya Kangemi, and we can give them those subsidized offers. But they vary from private to public facilities.
So looking at those as determinants of whether an individual is going to come in and get tested or get screened, then seems to me a precluding factor.
Well, it has been.
It has been.
It has been because
now, if we're looking at 1,000 shillings, the truth of the matter is that the majority of the population, when you look then at 1,000 shillings vis-a-vis the other things that you're going to do for something that's not painful, then
it can wait. It can wait.
Absolutely, it's a no-brainer in terms of what you're going to select. So then, I guess the question then, when we look at preventative care, is that we have to look at the costs of it as well, and it's got to be an everybody conversation. That how then will we make sure that preventative care is what we are going to, because obviously curative is much more expensive.
Very true. And I think that's where we're going as a country, and that has been a question that has been raised on several occasions, not just in this forum. How do we ensure that healthcare is accessible to the local mwananchi, the mama mboga, who's not able to get the 1,000, the 2,000 or the 3,000 for a mammogram? And that's where the country is going in terms of health. Previously, NHIF would not pay for anything that was diagnostic. So it wouldn't pay for screening. It wouldn't pay for the mammogram in most facilities. So now we're getting to a place now the conversation is shifting from just treatment to prevention. And here's where we're having the universal health coverage. And what it's looking into is how do we focus on prevention? Because definitely, if we caught the cancers early, the amount of money we're spending on treatment for metastatic disease, on treatment for advanced disease, would be focused to a larger population. We would be able to save a lot of money and save lives at the same time by catching cancers early. So universal health coverage is looking at ensuring we are focusing on prevention, ensuring messaging like this is done, ensuring diagnostic is covered in the treatment, because you'd find someone has a lump or even a big ulcer, but they can't afford the biopsy, they can't afford the imaging, the CT scans that they're supposed to have. And then sadly, as Kenyans, we have very poor health-seeking behavior. So we go to hospital, like I said, only when things are very bad. 2, we have very poor compliance to insurance. So we take insurance when we are unwell. So most patients, even who are diagnosed with cancer, when they get the diagnosis of cancer, that is when they take insurance. So that reduces the capital base that the insurance has in order to cater for most of these services. So now when we're looking at universal health coverage, it means everybody's contributing to the pool, ensuring there are funds to diagnose, to prevent, and now to treat. And that would really help, because like patients who had breast cancer, the chemotherapy, NHIF would pay 6 cycles, like for the first line. Then for the second line, they could maybe pay another 6, but in every financial year. But there's some chemotherapy regimes that are 8 cycles. That would mean the patient had to foot the bill. So if per cycle it's 25,000, it meant the patient needed to have 50,000 to complete the treatment. Sometimes other drugs are even more expensive, maybe 60,000 every 3 weeks. You see, even for me, if I was to pay 60,000 or 100,000 every 3 weeks, I would feel the dent. I would perhaps not even be able to afford that. And that's why you'd find even doctors, when we get cancer, or healthcare professionals, you'll still see an M-Pesa changa. We're going to come to you to ask for money because the treatment was very expensive. So we're looking forward to seeing how this UHC will be panned out, because it really looks like it's going to change healthcare. It's going to change how we look at things and how much, and increase the access to care, both at preventive, diagnostic, and treatment levels.
We'll be having a UHC conversation in the next hour, and we'll have them continuously to just seek to understand what is being rolled out in UHC. But as a final conversation, you're saying people should make it a habit to check themselves. And then people should make it a habit to regularly go for screening. How regularly? Once a year, twice a year?
We talk about once a year.
Okay.
I always try and say in October, everybody's going to talk about it. There are companies that will give it for free.
So do it then.
Do it then, because something's going to remind you about breast cancer screening. The when to start. Remember, if I have a strong family history of breast cancer, like my mother had breast cancer, my aunt had breast cancer, or my sister, then I would start 10 years before when they got the cancer. And the screening is important. Early detection actually saves lives, and we really need to focus on it.
Good message. Dr. Dalcy Wanda from KNH and Dr. Hussein Dimbil from Equity Afia have been our guests this morning. Keep it here. UHC conversation coming up in the next hour. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has announced that the government will cut travel allowances 500 million shillings to raise funds for the special education sector. Speaking during the flagging off of motor vehicles across the country to be used by education officials, the head of state indicated that the amount will aid in constructing a facility to manufacture devices to support children with special needs. The president emphasized that the government will use available resources, the human capital and the raw materials in Kenya to produce the devices instead of importing them.
I'm going to adjust my budget again. I will knock off a few things, including the travel allowances and many of the things that are in there, so that I can find 500 million shillings to give it to start the manufacture of local devices.
A section of Mount-Kenya members of parliament have faulted Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja for banning hawkers from accessing the central business district. Led by the Starehe MP Amos Mwago, the MPs accused Sakaja of failing to involve Nairobi's leadership in making decisions that will affect the county's economy and livelihoods of city dwellers. This comes after the Nairobi governor banned hawking along the lanes in the central business district, saying the hawkers are informal traders and deserve an opportunity to eke out a living in an orderly manner. He spoke when he met the leadership of CBD hawkers, city inspectorate officers, mobility and works sectors. Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya has instructed CECs, senior officials and directors of various departments to visit 262 educational institutions and distribute bursaries to students from disadvantaged families before Monday evening next week. Education CEC Sam Mujung has said that the order is being fully implemented to ensure that the beneficiaries, including students, continue with their studies.
Kutokana na directive ya executive the governor, tutakuwa tunapeana bursary checks kwa mashule zetu zote 262 na pesa ambao tunapeana in total ni milioni 60 na tunapeana kwa mashule day school na pia kwa vocational training centers. Hali ya umaskini iko juu sana katika county hii na executive the governor ameamua kuokoa wazazi na kuokoa watoto. Wale walikuwa shuleni, wale wako sasa ni watainiwa, kwa wale ambao ni walemavu, either mtoto ama mzazi. Agenda ya retention in schools ni very very important for success watoto wetu.
Ojunga said that public participation was carried out before the implementation of the exercise.
Mbinu tuliotumia chini ya uongozi wa executive the governor na in collaboration or cooperation na members of the county assembly ilikuwa ni kupitia public vetting. Walipeana application na katika kila ward kulikuwa na zaidi ya wiki moja. Wananchi wenyewe pamoja na viongozi na ward vetting committees walifanya public vetting ya wale ambao walistahili kupata hizi bursary. Kwa hivyo it was a very open and transparent process na wananchi wenyewe, kwa sababu pesa ni ya wananchi. Na executive governor anatambua kwamba public participation is very important. Pesa hizi ni za umma na umma lazima ihusishwe katika ugavi wa pesa kama hizi.
Local coffee farmers will start selling their produce directly to one of the world's largest coffee firms, the Java Coffee Company, following an agreement signed by the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in Rotsala, Belgium. According to their joint commitment deal, the Java Coffee Company pledged to purchase Kenyan coffee directly from the local farmers, starting with 700 tons, a move that will soon help small-scale farmers increase their incomes. The global company, renowned for its commitment to quality coffee, has also undertaken to procure a substantial volume of the coffee production, focusing primarily on supporting Kenyan women farmers and cooperatives. Now, the government wants private players in the tourism sector to take a lead role in coming up with strategies to maximize the potential the sector has in the economy. Tourism Principal Secretary John Ololtua said tourism products and experiences were largely in the hands of the private players and called on collaborative efforts towards increasing value and volume of tourism by spreading experiences and products across the country. The PS further urged tourism providers to expand their product offering to deliver unique, authentic Kenyan travel experiences to travelers to ensure that the destination remains competitive in the ever-changing tourism landscape. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, we haven't had too much of an issue this morning, except on the Thika Superhighway where the traffic is not giving up, or rather not letting up, at least not for now. It's going to come all the way from Survey through towards that junction going towards Wangari Maathai or then towards Murang'a Road. We're also seeing heavy traffic on Limuru Road coming in towards Gymkhana and also on Peponi getting through towards Westgate. So that's heavy. United Nations Avenue also packing a punch with traffic this morning. And coming out of Westlands from James Gishuru. Before that, we're looking at coming in from Zima Springs, the junction, Naivasha Road, Gitanga Road, all of that business happening and very busy into the city. Likoni Interchange, trying to touch on the Southern Bypass, and then there's a mishmash of traffic as you get out towards Langata Road. Started late, but here it is. Outer Ring, coming in from Embakasi at that junction is tight inbound traffic. So one to watch. If you're wondering what's laying ahead, there's traffic at that roundabout and it'll take you a minute to get out of it, but you'll be fine. If you're not, how about we talk? And let's do it on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It's Friday, the
only way to start your day.
2023 is the final day of the week when you will be able to catch Zari on Maisha Magic Plus, and then come Monday and you'll be able to watch Zari at 8:30, Kasiri at 7:30. Kasiri?
If you're into drama, soap operas, then for sure you're in the right place. Okay. Today's episode, Nash is away. And during this time, Sheiks has an encounter with Wanja. Remember, Wanja and Sheiks are both Nash's women. They do. So now, Wanja learns that Nash has been playing her. Meanwhile, there are other issues that go on in place with the first wife. So Nash has decided to take a trip and doesn't know that these two women are about to meet each other. It's about to go down, and it's today's episode. It's dropping on Maisha Magic Plus on DSTV channel 163 and GoTV channel 3. It's the show Kasiri, and it's on at 7:30 tonight. And that is what you'll see Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So that's the third episode that dropped on Wednesday.
Indeed. To catch these shows, just tune into Maisha Magic Plus on DSTV channel 163, GoTV channel 3. And also what happens is, if you'd like to get more, dial *423# and download My DSTV, or download My DSTV and My GoTV app, and be able to catch this. Sunday is coming, and what happens on Sunday is we'll be able to catch the show, not the show, we'll be able to run, and you'll be able to watch the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. When? On Sunday. Where? On KTN. From what time? From 6 a.m. Everybody will be running, and when everybody is running, that's a good thing. So people who have registered and are ready to participate on Sunday, let me tell you the times. You'll be at Uhuru Gardens an hour before the start of your race. The 21-kilometer wheelchair race will be flagged off at 5:45 a.m. Then the 42-kilometer race, 6 a.m. 21 kilometers, 6:30 a.m. 10 kilometers, 8 a.m. And the 5-kilometer family fun run, 9:30 a.m. Now, make sure you're there at least an hour to your time so that you are warm up, you're ready. When it's flagged off, you take off. If you're doing the 5-kilometer race, for example, there's no need for you to be there at 6:30 a.m. at Uhuru Gardens. Just go at 8:30 a.m. If you're doing the 10 kilometers, go at 7 a.m. for your race at 8 a.m. If you're doing the 21 kilometers, go at 5:30 a.m. so that you are ready to start running from 6:30 a.m. All the best, everybody. Let us do this. So we continue with our Health Friday conversation now, and we are joined by two gentlemen in the studio. Dr. Abdi Mohammed is the chairman of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals. Jeffrey Mwangi is an expert on health financing, and he's a former CEO of NHIF. Good morning, Daktari. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. You're here. Daktari, we've talked to you many times, but virtually.
Yes.
So here you are, in the room.
And truly it's a hot seat.
Yeah. All right, but hata joto.
Bado hata.
You're already feeling surely.
Because health is usually hot.
Yeah, that's true. That's indeed very true. Jeffrey as well, karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here. With all the knowledge and experience you've had working for the NHIF, karibu, and understanding health financing. To welcome you both to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes.
This week's proverbs are from Zanzibar. They are in Kiswahili. So the first thing that we want you to do is to directly translate what you hear in Kiswahili into English and tell us. And then you'll interpret the proverb.
Yes. Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe. Daktari?
The sharpness of the eye is greater than the razor.
Mm-hmm.
Direct translation, good.
Jeff, the same?
Yeah, the sharpness of the eye is sharper than the razor. Or is more, what do you use? The other word of more sharper is, there should be a better English word fully translate it.
For sharper?
Yes.
There should be a sharper word.
Yeah.
What's your interpretation of it, Jeff? What do you think the proverb is telling us?
Well, is that the eye is, if you are to perform surgery, the eye would cut deeper than the razor. That in normal life, the eye has a bigger view, has a bigger vision, can transact somebody directly.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's from a coastal town, I would say it's more to do with people's eyes are more powerful than any other sharper object that you can think of.
So, Mwalimu?
As always, I'm sure you will say it's correct.
Well, it is. You're absolutely right. You see, when you ask for someone's opinion, how can they possibly be wrong? And they have given you their opinion. It isn't possible to be wrong.
True.
But I'm sure I've come across people who tell you, the person looked at me with a bad eye.
True.
So is it there was something wrong with their eyes, or is it that the look? Yes, exactly. So what does the look portray? Because there is no look if there are no eyes.
The eyes can penetrate into the soul.
Yes. The eyes seem to speak a language of their own.
They can send a message.
Yeah, they send
a strong one.
That is, that's it.
A very strong message.
Very strong. Just one look. If it's something that people remember of their mothers, many mothers didn't need to tell you anything; they just need to look at you.
That's
one look, and you've gotten the message, and you know,
start bleeding.
and you know exactly what is required of you. One look.
True. True.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Yes.
All right. So last week, Friday, President William Ruto launched the Universal Health Coverage Program countrywide. This is after he had assented to the new bills for the health sector that are paving way for this. After that, he said, now we're going to have regulations that will come into place so that we then bring these particular laws into life and UHC will be fully operational. As we stand here today, as we sit here today, Daktari.
Yes.
As the chair of the Private Hospitals Association, do we have UHC in the country today?
First of all, we need to keep in mind on one thing.
Yes.
UHC is never a destination. It's always a journey. And there's no country that can say we are fully, we have reached the end of healthcare delivery. But I want to go back June 2022, on 27th. If you recall very well, UDA, the then presidential candidate, had a health forum. We were invited as stakeholders during that time. We gave a memorandum, and we also went and presented verbally what were the things that we wanted to do, to be done in the country. A few weeks later, there was a manifesto that was launched. If you look at that manifesto and you look at the 4 bills, you will find exactly what was in that manifesto. So it says the Kenya Kwanza government will deliver UHC on 3 platforms, on 3 pillars. So the first pillar, it says we will deliver tax-funded primary health care, which will focus on promotive, preventive, diagnostic, and treatment at the lower levels. And it says the second pillar will be a social health insurance, which will be fair and just. And that's why you keep on hearing nowadays people talking about a rate rather than a fixed amount of payment, so that it's equitable. And the third pillar, it says that we will deliver, we will have a fund for critical illness and emergency. And for a long time, that has been one of the biggest problems that we had. Emergency fund is said to be a right in the Constitution. The Health Act says the same of 2017. There have been policies, but it has never been implemented. So for these now laws, so basically all they are doing is implementing
the manifesto.
So for me, I would say I would give it a tick up to this point where we are, that what was promised and what was through a consultative forum is being implemented step by step. For me, it's just to make sure the journey just continues. And that's why I was saying, for UHC, it's not something that you can say, we have arrived. This is the final destination. It's something that you will keep on improving.
Going in the journey.
Continuously.
Right.
Because as it is now, even in the West, if you look at UK, NHS does not provide everything. There are certain things that are excluded. They will tell you this, we can't. This, no. This has a waiting period. This, so that it means resources are constrained, and you can't have unlimited access to the way you would want. So in terms of a start, we are on the right.
We are on the right path.
Yes.
We are off to a good start.
We are off to a good start.
Okay.
And for the first time, a manifesto means something. At least.
What's on paper
is at least being put into practice.
Coming into practice.
Yes.
Jeff, the conversation about UHC is not new.
Sure.
I mean, from the Kibaki days, there was a conversation about how can we have a wider, better, far-reaching access to healthcare. Into Uhuru 1 and into Uhuru 2, when UHC was one of the big five. At that point, you were in NHIF. And NHIF was being said to be going to be the anchor for UHC. What you're seeing now that's being rolled out, is it the conversations that were happening within the boardroom of NHIF and within management of NHIF?
Sure. UHC, I think, began way back even in 73. Some changes to NHIF. I think that's when they brought in all the other people. Remember when NHIF began was selective to some group of communities. And these changes have been cumulative all along. But I think what we had then, we lacked the structure in terms of the law. Because the shape of NHIF then or now could not master the whole drive to attain UHC. Because as we know, UHC encompasses more, not only the financing bit. When you come to curative aspect, there's more components to say that a country is towards the road to UHC or it's achieving UHC. So those discussions were there. We were trying to see what the law provided then and what can be done. But I think what we have now is more broadened and a better platform to want to say that now we are on the road to deliver UHC.
Is it a radical shift, though, from the NHIF that we knew?
Yes, in terms of the other components that have been brought in on board. As Dr. is saying, when you look at the critical illness aspect, the emergency aspect, and the promotive aspect of having community health workers, we had them long time before, but something broke along the way. I don't know what. Maybe Dr. can tell us. But without those
IMF
aspects,
happened.
yes, without those aspects on board, you cannot talk of even UHC if you're only talking on the curative and the financing bit of when you fall sick. So I see this is quite broad. It's quite good. It takes us to the journey where we should be.
Okay. One of those big issues being preventive care. And looking at the disease burden on the country today, it's interesting because we had a conversation towards that effect just, in the previous hour. So looking at UHC, medical practitioners around the country been calling on this aspect of preventive health. And one of the issues or one of the factors that prevents that, if we can use that, is the cost. So are we saying now that UHC, in the way in which it has been designed, is going to then bring about this element of making sure that preventive health is sought after and paid for because of this card essentially that we will have?
I would say so, because if you look at the current setup for CHPs, community health promoters, the first thing they will do is at the household level, and that's why it's called level 1. So they will be able to come to your household, do the necessary in terms of registering, take your blood pressure, look at whether you have medication. Are you going to the clinic? If you are pregnant, have you started your ANC or not yet? Then if you are diabetic, do you have medication? Are you compliant? Are you using your medication? If not, so the first thing that they will do is tell you now, connect you to your primary health care provider. That's level 2 and level 3. So one of the things I'm assuming the primary health care fund will do is pay for screening for certain things, whether it's cancer, so that when you reach a certain age, it's automatic that you need to be screened. And if you don't, then there are certain things that might be put in place to say that you have to do X, Y, Z. So that is the initial aspect. And my assumption is that that's what will be pushed in terms of incentivize. That's the word, that you will incentivize the providers to do preventive rather than the curative thing that we always do. And we already have guidelines on where screening should begin in terms of age-wise, in terms of demographic. And for me, that is one way to address it, in the preventive aspect, and pay for it, so that you, as a Kenyan, you don't have to worry, how am I going to pay for mammogram, for example, because I saw earlier we were talking about breast cancer.
Yeah.
So how do you, if you have a history, how do you now again say, okay, your family history, then because you are likely to get it, how do we put you on that program? And for me, the other thing that will address that issue is the issue of the digital agency and this new superhighway for health information, where every facility will be able to access your patient data and see that you have a family history, you have reached the right age, you need to be screened. So those are the things that it's the doing is where we are moving to. Yes,
that's where
but in terms of structures, I think we have the base and the basics in place.
These basics that you say in place, what are they exactly?
The Act. So when you talk about tax funded, so it means your primary health care, including the community health, people is money that's appropriated by Treasury for service delivery, and it's for service delivery. So it's not money that's given to facilities to use it like a budget. So it's money follows service. You provide the service, then it's paid for. So if you look at the community health, they have already started working in some counties, and they are already sending the information
on the gadgets.
On the gadgets. So it means even now as we speak, at the headquarters, the government is able to see digitally on a dashboard where are the pregnant mothers, how many have started clinic, how many have not started. Then you can even do interventions and find out why or what are the obstacles of these mothers not going for those clinics. So you can be very specific and know it's in this constituency or sub-county or village that there are 10 pregnant mothers and the 10 haven't started clinic.
Yeah.
So you see, it's giving us real-time information. We don't have to wait for surveys that will be done 5 years or 10 years.
Are we sure that this is happening? So we can be sure that we have people with backpacks going into villages.
Yes.
We could also say that maybe we are sure that for the first week or so, these people are actually keying in the data. Are we sure that they are constantly keying in the data? Number one. And number two, are we sure that this data is going to a central place and that there is somebody on the other end who is looking at this data? It could just be going there, but it just
goes and sits there.
I think that will be answered best by the Ministry of Health. But what I know is they have one digital platform called Ichis that they are all using.
These gadgets have been linked to this platform.
It has that.
It has the capability.
It has the capability, and it also has the app. So they key in whenever they go to every household. And the way the structure of community health promoters works is every group have one supervisor, so that there is also somewhere else that they report
some
to.
accountability.
Yes. So there is a chain of command. So even if you don't show up, there's a way that it can be seen by whoever is looking at it. Yes. And I'm sure they were not just meant to just go and carry the backpacks without providing data and without...
No,
That's
you're
why
sure.
I've told you. The idea is not to spend all that money so that people don't
Of
just
course
go
it
and collect.
Actually, it could very well end up there. You see, if you do not have a support system that ensures that the data that's being collected can be actioned, then that is precisely what we will have. So, yes, we see people with backpacks. Yes, they are collecting data. I am assuming they have been trained in more ways than just to collect data.
Yes.
Okay? Now, having assumed that, I am also assuming that wherever that information goes, there are people who analyze it, and there are the people who move it forward so that it can be actioned. And I'm also assuming that we have health facilities to which these people can actually report to, and to where these services that we're speaking about will at some point be there to provide the service required if it doesn't exist already. Assuming.
Yes.
I think that's quite possible, because even during the pilots we did, the initial drive to UHC, we were picking data from Isiolo, it was Isiolo, Machakos, and Kisumu, and that data was being relayed to the ministry.
There was Nyeri as well.
Yes, so that's quite easy to do. And most of these primary health promoters are seasoned, because they've been doing these things when the malaria drive comes. They've been doing it when the polio drive comes. They've been doing it. Only that it was a bit segmented. Now the idea is, I would believe, is to bring it holistic together and have it done in a more organized way. So I think collection of data has been there. What the drive should be is to have that data in a central data bank, that now accessibility can be broader. And its use can be much broader.
That's it. To put it into proper use, that data needs somewhere where it sits, and there's somebody who is able to analyze the data, to break it down, and to pass on the information. To flag those things that you're saying. We have 10 pregnant women in a certain village who have not started going for their antenatal care. So why are they not going for antenatal care? Probably because the nearest health facility, there's been no medical practitioner there for the last 6 months. So where would they be going to? Those issues, the follow-up questions.
Yes.
But let's take a break. We'll continue this shortly. 8:30, Dr. Abdi Mohammed is the chairman of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals. Geoffrey Mwangi is a health financing expert and former CEO of NHIF. We are talking about UHC. Are we off to a good start in the rollout of UHC? It was launched by President William Ruto last week on Friday. It's a week down the road. Where are we? What are we looking at? We'll be back shortly. Let's take a look at weather and traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi, it's 15 degrees, highs of 25 and lows of 15. And we're looking into a sunny Nakuru at 16 with highs of 24. And Nyeri is cloudy at 17 with highs of 24 as well. Sunny conditions at 15 in Eldoret with highs of 24 and lows of 12. Mombasa this morning is sunny at 28 with highs of 32. And it's mostly sunny at 28 in Malindi as well. We'll see highs of 32. Kisumu this morning is sunny at 21 with highs of 29 and lows of 19, while Kakamega will see highs of 28, whereas it's sunny at 20. Looking at sunny conditions at 21 in Kampala, and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 27. All right, Addis Ababa sunny at 16 going to highs of 23, and Mogadishu will see highs of 32, where it's mostly sunny at 30. Looking into Johannesburg, it's sunny at 20 with highs of 32 and lows of 18, and it's clear at 25 in Lagos with highs of 31. Kinshasa will see highs of 29, where it's cloudy at 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, we haven't had a real traffic problem this morning. Just looking at it, coming off of Outer Ring, still an issue. Inbound traffic going towards that Embakasi Junction. Looks like it's going to continue for some time, touching then of traffic that's coming in from Cabanas and through North Airport Road. So that's a bit of a pickle. We're also looking at state traffic on Likoni Road going towards the interchange. It's coming off Lunga Lunga heavy. And Jogo Road is busy then going towards Landis. Let's look at the Thika Superhighway. We're coming in from Survey through towards Moranga Road at the junction with Wangari Maathai is also still busy, as is Limuru Road. Yes, we'll see coming in from Ruaka and touching on the United Nations Avenue, in and outbound traffic because of the road construction is going to continue for some time. So look and see kind of thing. Let us know what's going on where you are. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Spice up your life.
So we continue our conversation 24 minutes to 9 with Dr. Abdi Mohammed and Geoffrey Mwangi, who are in the studio. UHC launched last week. We're talking about the community health promoters already out there. They were flagged off earlier by the president still and says, go ye and start serving the people. And they were given the gadgets and they're walking. Now you're saying, right, they're walking into the communities and they're starting to offer that service. There's a conversation that I'm not hearing. I'm hearing a conversation and there's a bill on the facility improvement. Facility improvement. So let me start the question from a bit far off. Jeff, if you look at the balance, in fact, even you, Dr. Mohammed, how many, what's the percentage of healthcare provision that's given by public and private? What's the mix?
I would say almost 50-50. If not, if you combine private and mission, they can even push to 55-60.
So private and faith-based
yes,
are more than public.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this community, the health facility improvement fund,
yes,
is to go to the public.
So that's for the public. If you recall, before devolution, facilities used to keep the fund that they generate within the facility to improve on service delivery. Then when devolution came, that was removed. Some counties decided to bring that part back. And what they have done is around 26 or 25 counties have had FIF in one way or another, with different variations. So some would say 70% remains in the facility, 30 comes to the central. Some would say 60, some would say 80, some would say 90. So this now makes it all the 47 to have a uniform 100% retention at the facility. So the reason for the retention is that when you have budgetary allocation from the county, sometimes there are delays, but you will find a facility is not even able to buy water or detergents to clean the facility. Sometimes they run out of drugs. Maybe KEMSA was never paid by the county, and the money they have collected through service provision, whether it's through NHIF or whether it was cash people are paying, has gone to the central
to the county.
So then, so how do you now improve service delivery at the county facilities, public facilities, so that they can also compete with private facilities and mission facilities? Is by allowing them to have, to be able to buy things, to be able to improve on their service delivery, by not just waiting for the...
So they have cash.
So they have cash.
They have float.
So they have, other than the budget, they have extra money that they can now use to improve...
To meet their daily operational needs.
Operational needs.
Okay.
And luckily, in each of those facilities, there is a community representative that should be part of the board.
For accountability purposes.
For accountability purposes. Right. So for me, I think it's one thing that
it's a good
will
thing.
Help in
now
terms
my
of
question.
Improve. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
45% of our facilities of healthcare is provided by the public health facilities.
Yes.
I am not hearing a conversation that is saying, as we roll out UHC, let us aim to increase public health facilities. Is there a conversation about not facility improvement, but facility establishment? So we have more health centers. With a growing population, are we saying that now it's easier, we are going to have those dispensaries and health centers being constructed closer to the people? Are we going to have level 3 facilities, new level 3 facilities coming up? Jeff?
First, I wanted to talk about the ring fencing of health funds. And this is a debate which has been there even longer, even before devolution, because like then in NHIF we used to look at how do we avoid this money which has been generated to drive health, not move out from that circle of healthcare. And this debate came strongly when we were doing capitation, because that model of payment allows the underwriter or the insurer to pass over the risk to the provider. But also the insurer allows the provider to have the funds upfront even before he undertakes his commitments. But you would find if it is a private provider, he would pick the money and go build his flats. So you find the health money has moved out of that cycle. So I think that bill comes in handy to try and ring fence health funds, which is a key component. And I don't know how far it can be applied even to the private sector, other than only to the government. But coming to your question of health provision, government vis-a-vis private, I think government, to me, should only come in where the private has not gone into. What the government should do is what it's doing now, provide a mechanism of affordability of healthcare services whenever somebody seeks for them. That combination of we provide and private, if somebody can afford to pay for their health services, whether being provided by the private or mission, that should be the key thing.
Did private facilities not come in the first place because there was a gap in what public was supposed to have provided? So if we're saying that government comes to fill in what private has not taken care of, it seems a bit off to me. That if we look at health as one of the priorities that government then is supposed to provide for its citizens, what we are saying here essentially is that let the private people come and do it, and then where they cannot reach, then government will come and supplement. It should be the reverse.
I think, government provides social services to the people. And private players are there to invest filling the gap of where maybe the government has not
But
reached.
not to take over the responsibility of government. Government has a
And
responsibility
in
in
the
terms
health
of provision
sector,
of
it seems that is
healthcare.
exactly what has happened.
Absolutely.
Well,
Jeff,
I don't know, because I know there are countries
let's start
where
with those basic. Okay,
where
the government is recruiting community health promoters. Right. And the community health promoters should be linked to a facility.
Right.
Should this facility be private or should it be public? Let's start with that.
It's any facility. And that's why you need to go back. I will tell you again, look at the manifesto. And it's very categorical on when it comes to service delivery. One of the reasons why UHC failed, the experiment, the 4 counties, is the service was only delivered by the public facilities. And that did not work.
Of course, because government was not building. Go on.
Let me finish. So that, what you need to understand is what matters is, it doesn't matter who is providing the service. What matters is the service being provided affordable, quality assured, and there is a financing mechanism. If you look at Japan, for example, which has one of the best UHCs, majority, almost I would say 90% of services are delivered by the private sector. And what he said was actually correct. It's where private sector feels that it's not viable, is where government invests in Japan. Look at their healthcare system. If you go to Germany, the same. It's more of private sector that provides. Yes.
Why giving examples of first world countries when we know full well we're a third world banana republic, and everything that you're referring to is so far-fetched? We might as well have health facilities on the moon. It's for me, it was the idea that we keep on saying, like the private sector shouldn't provide these services. So for me, what I look at is what matters at the end of the day to the common man, you and me and everybody else, is am I getting services? Number one, quality, and is it affordable?
But look at what has happened.
So if I get those 3 things, then I would say I'm covered.
So can
I don't
ask
have
a
to worry
question
about.
then, Dr.
Yes.
If that was the case,
Yes.
wouldn't we then see that everybody then today in the country would be accessing private healthcare without a problem? But what do we see is that most people are flocking for public health because it is cheaper. Or is what you're saying now, with the rollout of UHC, what we will see is that it doesn't matter where you go. You go to a private facility or you go to a public facility, you'll then be able to use your coverage and it wouldn't matter. Because right now that is not the case.
Yes. And what you need to keep in mind again is what extra things do you want? For example, if you go to a private facility and then you ask for an extra sitting room, or you ask for an extra toilet and what within your... So that's the part where private comes into some places. That there are people who want extra things which are more... That cannot be... Yeah, they are not basic.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So what... Now with this UHC, you will be able to get the services that you need based on, irrespective of who is going to provide the services, whether it's mission, whether it's public or private. Now to come to your question, the idea of who is going to build, now that's where now counties come in. That's now where CDF comes in. That's where now the different players come in. On how to build new facilities. So the question is, are we suffering from service delivery unavailability, or is our problem the financing mechanism? That is our problem. Are there empty beds?
My uninformed guess would be it's both.
It's both.
There are very many cases, very many places.
Yes.
If you went to all these Mukurus,
yes,
Kwanjenga, Koruben, and you will find health facilities.
Yes.
Okay? But you will find a Kador somewhere and it's written hospital. you don't know the quality of it all. Now, has there been a deliberate plan to make sure that the people of Nakuru can access quality health facilities? Has there been a deliberate conversation that makes sure that until COVID and President Uhuru and General Badi did that thing with building new facilities, there was no establishment of new health facilities in Nairobi? It was all going private, and then look at the quantum and also the quality that we were getting. So I would say it's both.
It's both.
There are very many villages that you will go to that do not have a dispensary near them. It used to be there when a location was the size of a district, and that was the location dispensary. There hasn't been any that has been constructed.
Now do I tell you one thing?
Tell me.
I inspected those facilities.
Which ones?
The one NMS built. And I can show you after this photo evidence that after they were launched, majority of them were empty.
Of course.
They had people, workers, but no patients.
Why?
Because there was no the required
because they
drugs.
don't get the commodities.
Commodities.
Yes.
So now you understand where now the issue of FIF comes in.
And that's why I was talking about from the very beginning. If there's a deliberate plan to have, let's look, the health facilities that we have, are they commensurate with the population that we have? Per area, per region, per all. Now let's have the other conversation. As you're financing this, are you giving them the facilities, the necessary commodities, plus healthcare workers, plus everything, plus equipment?
And that's when we will know, once these laws and the regulations and everything come into effect, that's the time we will realize what are the issues. For now, it's hypothetical that the demand will outstrip all the available resources in terms of service delivery. That's your hypothesis. And that's why you are saying we go to brick and mortar. But if you talk to healthcare workers...
It's not a hypothesis.
No. If you go to healthcare workers...
The fact that we have public health facilities that are congested,
yes,
that people are sharing beds...
It's a fact.
Is a fact. And it tells you something.
And that's why they drive to UHC.
And the reason why we see people flocking to the PGHs is because we lack level 3, level 2s.
And that's why now you have a mechanism where you have a primary health care fund. And actually that's the whole architect of these three funds. So what does it do? It tells you stay within your primary health care facilities.
That's the basis of my question.
And then you are referred
That
upwards.
is the basis of my question.
Yes.
You got it. Now let me come to you. So, because we are saying there is a taxpayer-funded primary healthcare provision.
Yes.
This should go with building facilities so that you make it. What is the cost for health? It includes transport. It includes time.
True.
If you're telling somebody in Kimana or Loitoktok, they're coming from Loriga, they're coming from Darara, they're all coming to Kimana, you are messing them up. But put it closer.
Yeah, and that's why UHC, because UHC, what does it stand for? It's access, not only access, but to quality. Not only quality, but as you can afford to pay for it. And I think these gaps now will start be filled in as we roll out the journey towards UHC, because that's where you find those who not have access must be allowed to have access, whether it means building a new facility where the people, the distance is far. And some of these community health workers are to fill up those gaps and report that, you see, what is happening in this area. For one to access a healthcare facility, they need to walk 20 kilometers.
There's a concept that has come in over time to help solve what you've just said. It's called task shifting. So that you utilize what you have to ensure you provide as much service as possible. The example you gave of Japan is true up to this point. Remember, in Japan, health facilities, whether they're private or not, are non-profit. That's the rule. They're non-profit. Even what you call a private health, it's non-profit. But it is shared. Depending on the family income, you contribute, you know, this 2.7% we're talking about, you contribute 10, 20 to 30%. Then the balance the government supports. Japan have a saving culture like probably no other nation on this planet. So their government, when we talk about borrowing, they don't tend to borrow elsewhere. They just borrow from their own facility because they have that culture. They have a lot of money. Now, it's a model which works. Now, if we're saying that 2.7% is to go towards what we're saying, I can see a glimmer of hope that this will actually work. But then I would also say that 2.7% may not be enough if we are to actually provide what we are hoping to envision. Because of the workforce we have in this country, how many actually earn a regular income from which that amount can actually be deducted to provide these services that we need and we must actually have? You see, I asked about the training of the community health promoters, and I asked about the other tasks that they have. There are very many medical conditions that do not need hospitalization, neither do they need someone to actually even go to a health facility. These are things that can actually be managed. They can be diagnosed syndromically and they can be managed. You are a medical doctor, you know exactly what I'm saying. Now, I am saying it is an ambitious project and there are many things that need to be done. And that we have started in itself is a good thing. But even as we continue, are we saying that the building blocks to ensuring that the UHC works are actually being monitored and ensured that they are put in place?
I would say yes, and let me explain maybe the way this thing is supposed to work from my understanding. So you have the community health promoter, and then you have the primary health care fund, which is tax funded. So the idea of the primary health care fund is to align you to a network. So there are around 315 primary health care networks. What does that mean? It's a geographical area. One network is a geographical area, maybe sub-county or something like that. So you, who is a resident in that area, will only go to these facilities within your network, irrespective of who the facility owner is.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's public, private, or mission, it doesn't matter. So what does that do? You can't jump and go to Kenyatta National Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
You can only go to Kenyatta National Hospital or to even Mbagathi after you have been referred by your primary health care provider. So that you are referred to a facility, a higher level facility because of your condition.
Yeah.
And that's now where your social health insurance kicks in, the one you have contributed. In whatever amount, whether it's 2.7 or 2.75%, however it will be calculated, you utilize that in level 4, 5, and 6 for all your secondary care or tertiary care that you need. So this is now where we will realize in this network, there are only 3 primary healthcare facilities. So the population, it's not enough to cater for. And now that gap that you're talking about will come in and say, okay, if in this primary healthcare network, this one doesn't have enough facilities, how do we now improve on the number of facilities in that space?
Is that in any of these laws?
Yes. That's why the primary healthcare bill.
So what does it say?
It
shall build.
No. You see,
that's the point I'm raising. So once we have established, once we start rolling this thing out, and our basis is bottom up.
Yes.
In UHC.
Yes.
We are starting from home.
Yes.
To network.
Yes.
Network,
primary healthcare network. Then you go to secondary.
So if this bottom,
yes.
if we are not talking about this, once we realize, because the first thing we're going to do is realize that this population is not being adequately served by the facilities that it has.
Yes.
Is anything telling us what we're going to do? Because if there's nothing that telling us what we're going to, it's going to take us another 5 years to come up with a new bill that says, okay, allocate budget, start building health facilities. That's the fear I'm seeing. If we have not said that within the first year we are going to be able to realize the strength of our network. And this is what we are going to do to fill the gaps in our networks. What are we saying?
So you want a bill that says we'll build hospitals?
I want a bill that says the first thing we're going to do is have this network,
Yes.
and we will.
No, that one is already there. The network is already there.
And we will audit.
The referral
We will audit the
system is
quality
there.
of this network.
Yes.
And if we find that the quality is wanting, this is what we shall do.
Yes.
Either bring Dr. Mohammed and tell you, bring your hospitals, bring people to build, or we put in money to build facilities, something. Without that question being answered, once we realize, then what? You see, the thing is, when these guys carrying their backpacks say people are not going to hospital because there is no hospital nearby,
And I think at that point, having the county governments and the national government, I think that's a gap that can be filled. But you realize that there has to be a beginning.
Not only county and national, it can also be filled by the church. And
or even the private sector.
Okay.
So we are hoping that something will happen.
No. It's not hope. When there is a demand,
let's do
for
news.
sure.
Let's do the news. We did not start by saying, can people start identifying healthcare promoters in there? We said, let us recruit healthcare promoters. Let us map them to a network, and it is a geographical 10-kilometer blah, blah, blah. Then we should also have said, but let's continue this conversation shortly. Jeffrey Mwangi and Dr. Abdi Mohammed are here. We're having a conversation about universal health coverage. Are we off to a good start? What are we doing? 9 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Nairobi's explosive growth has remained a source of concern, with one of the cosmopolitan challenges being the influx of learners who have to scramble for the few facilities available to quench their thirst for education. President William Ruto highlighted these crises during his meeting with education stakeholders at the Kenya Institute of Special Education in Kasarani, Nairobi.
I used to have close to 130 schools. Now you have, and that is for one constituency. Now you have in Nairobi 200 schools for 17 constituencies with 4.5 million people. There is something fundamentally wrong in the city of Nairobi.
The head of state committed that the government will invest an initial 1 billion shillings for the construction of 3,500 classrooms in Nairobi to ease the congestion of learners.
In the supplementary that I am sending to Parliament, I have committed 1 billion shillings for Nairobi County as part of my commitment to start the building of the 3,500 classrooms that I undertook that the national government is going to build.
President Ruto also announced that the government has increased the budgetary allocation for the school feeding program to 5 billion shillings to keep more learners in school.
It is very important that our children don't lose the chance to go to school because there is a gap of a meal. It is the reason why we are improving our budget. I want to thank members of Parliament. When I made the proposal to increase the budget on school feeding from about 1.5 billion to 5.5 billion, Parliament approved.
Now, civil rights organizations and some residents of Nyanza will meet today at the Grace Onyango Hall in Kisumu City at the memorial event of about 100 people who died in the incident known as Kisumu Massacre that happened in October 1969 in Kisumu City, when the former President Jomo Kenyatta visited Kisumu City to officially open the Nyanza General Hospital, now Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. The event, which has been organized by the Nyanza Dialogue Initiative, wants to address police brutality against citizens from the Nyanza region, especially during various political processes. Olo Janak is among the organizers of the event.
The Kisumu massacre, which was a presidential event for the opening up of the what is now called Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital on 25th October 1969. President Kenyatta visited Kisumu. Unfortunately, chaos broke out after an argument with the former Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and in the process, therefore, many people were shot dead. More than 100 people died. So the community felt extremely traumatized. So this is an occasion to remember those people who died in that incident.
Janak says that some proposals after the celebration will be presented to the National Dialogue Committee so that they can be highlighted with the aim of finding a permanent solution.
If we have any recommendations, we would table this with the bipartisan talks, because the bipartisan talks is talking about Kenya and the difficulties that Kenya is having. The issue of sustained police brutality against the people in Nyanza, the ongoing clashes in Sondo, where people are being pulled out of their houses. These are things that require to be tabled before national dialogue like what we're having.
The Kenya Meteorological Department has warned of heavy rains that are likely to pound several parts of the country from today. The weatherman in an advisory listed Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Isiolo, Embu, Nyeri, Kiambu, Nyandarua, Laikipia, Murang'a, Meru, Kirinyaga, Tharaka Nithi, Kwale and Mombasa as counties which are of concern. As a result, residents in the said counties have been advised to be on the lookout for potential floods. These as at least 2 people died in 2 separate incidents of drowning following a heavy downpour that hit some parts of Marsabit County. Marsabit County Commissioner Nobat Komora said the 2 persons who drowned early Wednesday were a 70-year-old man from Loglogo locations, Barok area, which got flooded following a 4-hour non-stop downpour. The elderly man was caught up by the floods that were charged by runoff from Mount Marsabit as he slept, stripping him away together with the heart. Now, a Mombasa court has sentenced a 21-year-old man to 15 years in prison for allegedly defiling a 13-year-old girl. The accused, Isaac Juma Odhiambo, appeared before senior resident magistrate David Odhiambo, who convicted him of the charges leveled against him. According to a statement by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Magistrate Odhiambo ruled that there was compelling evidence adduced by 5 prosecution witnesses. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseda. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, we're looking at a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and there it is. Heavy traffic on Langata Road, indeed. So the 2 graduations going on, 3 actually from what I see here. And so Magadi Road, traffic, it's already bumper to bumper, getting towards that Bomas Junction. And then traffic incoming from the side of Galleria and then out towards Langata Road. There are graduations, folks. So if you are not involved in the graduation and you're coming from that direction, you are stuck already. And it's likely to get a little bit stickier as we get closer to time. So you might want to think about an alternate route or, spending Friday where you are. Something to think about. Southern Bypass also starting to clog up as you're heading in the Langata Road direction. So watch out for that. Juja Road, bumper to bumper in both directions. And we're also looking at incoming traffic on the Thika Superhighway, heavy going towards Pangani, as well as Limuru Road this morning. So, just when you thought you were out of it, it's when it begins on a Friday. Let us know what happens where you are, and we'll see if we can find alternate routes. But this is what it looks like for now. Let's check back in about half hour. SpiceFM KE on X.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have CT Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news
On
hound,
to the
a
final
man
hour
who
of the
believes
Situation
in
this
punch.
week, 7 minutes after 9. Remember, this Sunday, something is happening. And this is the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It kicks off from 5:45 a.m. with the 21-kilometer wheelchair race. 5:45 a.m. and then the others will be happening. 42-kilometer race flagged off at 6 a.m. 21-kilometer race flagged off at 6:30. 10 kilometers at 8 a.m. and 5 kilometers at 9:30 a.m. Please take note of your time. Arrive an hour before the commencement of your race. KTN will be live streaming and showing this entire marathon live from 6 a.m. Hiyo yote sawa. UHC conversation continues with Dr. Abdi Mohammed, who's the chairman of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals, and Geoffrey Mwangi, who is a former NHIF CEO and expert on health financing. City, remind us the day's proverb.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe.
Makali ya jicho yashinda wembe. Okay, we already got the translations. So we move straight into the conversation back, right?
Definitely.
Sawa. So there are 4 funds now that have been established.
3. Yes.
There?
Yes.
Primary Health Fund.
Primary.
Social Health Insurance Fund.
And the
Critical Care Fund. I'm adding the 4th one there. Facility Improvement Fund on the side. Okay.
That is an aspirational fund.
Well, it's because this is money that's being retained. That's why you're not calling it a fund. Who is going to manage these 3 funds? Is it the 3 different entities or is it one entity?
One entity, one board, one management. And actually it is it's meant to help each other, build on each other. So you will have the primary health care, which will do the promotive, preventive, so that it also keeps for the tier 2, which is the social health. So that you have as minimal as possible coming into this social health.
Yeah.
Then the final bit, the third one is the critical illness and emergency. So the critical illness is more of, I would call excess loss in insurance terms. So what happens is you have a benefit, then you exhaust, but the disease is still in place. For example, cancer. So you are not let go and said your 2 sessions are over, your money is over, and then now go home. So instead now the critical comes in and says, okay, let's continue treating you until such a time you are well. So that's the whole essence. But the critical is with the emergency fund. So emergency is for any emergency that you come across.
Okay. We would also like to know how these 3 funds essentially are funded. So the primary healthcare, one is to assume that is coming from the money that's deducted from you on a monthly basis, whatever, right? The 2.7%.
No.
This is budgetary allocation.
No. Okay, so this money comes from Treasury.
Yes.
Now, social health is what takes in your
It's where
your contribution.
Your contribution goes to. Now, critical health, critical illness and emergency, then where does this money come from?
It's also tax funded.
It's also tax funded, but not fully tax funded, from what we're meant to understand.
It's fully tax funded, but it also could come from different sources, like let's say tobacco fund.
Yes,
there's a certain part of it that usually they collect, so it could be used as part of the critical illness fund.
So 2 things.
So basically, I would say tax funded. It doesn't come from you directly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So 2 things we were told that possibility, syntax, like you're talking about now, that would go there. But then we're also talking about some donor funding that would then go towards this critical illness fund.
Possible,
right?
yes.
Possibly. All right. So what is happening at this primary health is that you're guaranteed to get that first level of care that you would essentially find at your level 1s, your 2s, your dispensaries and all of this, right?
Yes.
And this comes from Treasury, fully funded across board.
Yes.
Now, what also we're trying to avoid by this, I can see directly, is that everybody then who was flocking to your level 6s to then get a stitch or to then get, diagnosis for a flu or something, or a broken arm.
Or diarrhea treatment.
Exactly. So essentially what we are seeing is that all of that will be cut out. Now, one of the things that we saw, oftentimes we would be complaining about, is that there's huge bills when it comes to power in certain parts, running water, essentially the equipment for facilitation that is required at this level. Will we then be able to guarantee that all of these things are taken care of, so that in the event that you do present yourself at any level, that you would be taken care of? Because usually the reasons why people would move this step is because these facilities were not equipped. Is it not?
Yes.
Okay. So how would that then be guaranteed to be taken care of?
You have three options at that level, of level 2 and 3. A public facility, a mission facility, or a private facility. So if you go to a mission facility and you feel they are not up to the task, you can go and walk to a public facility. If you go to a public facility and you feel they are not up to the standards, you will move to a private facility. So the options, the chance of all three failing are very minimal, in my opinion. Unless something catastrophic happens, that in a primary healthcare network, that all three facilities are at zero, will be and when whatever that they can't provide, they are allowed now to refer you to a level 4, a level 5, and a level 6.
So should it not be aspirational, whereby the insistence should be that at this level, it doesn't matter whether it's public, it doesn't matter whether it's private, that these institutions should actually be equipped fully? It shouldn't be that I'm going to go here and because there's no syringes or whatever, let me find my way to a private facility because the card is available for me. Should it not be that we're making sure that across board, it doesn't matter whether it is public, whether it is private, whether it's church-based, whatever, or, faith-based, it doesn't matter, that everything, and that I guess is the due diligence that we're making sure is available across board everywhere in the country.
And that's why if you look at the Act, it talks about a different authority to do the quality and assessment of those facilities and the empaneling to say city's facility is fit for purpose and can provide this service. Contract them to provide this service. So when that authority comes and says, in this area there's no facility that can provide service, now that's where you will have the issue of how do we...
This fourth bill that Eric is looking for.
The one where, the one for tender
let's
of
build.
building structures with no...
let's build structures
with no products.
And let us establish a health facility with everything that's needed.
And that's why you have that quality authority that will do that work.
You know what I find strange, though? Huh?
Yes.
We have public-private partnerships in every sphere.
Yes.
What would a public-private partnership look like in the healthcare service?
I think the provision of equipment. We had like the MES. I think that was a private-public partnership.
How did that one work out?
Counties that have never had those things will tell you the price or the method that it was done was wrong. But in terms of service to the people, you see, there are two things. There is the process that it was done, or the cost is one thing. But in terms of providing services, for the first time we had almost every county had a dialysis center, and that was part of the equipment mess for the first time. And there was a payment mechanism that was also addressed.
Most of them, they had pegged them from the reimbursement we were giving them to cater for dialysis, to cater for chemotherapy.
So you don't need to come from Mandera to KNH for dialysis. You would get them in your own county. before that, everyone was either moving to the big cities because even the ones in the private sector were not affordable. And there were only very few facilities that had even the private sector, the big hospitals. So you would say almost maybe 10 were only available. And they were only available in cities.
Okay.
Smaller counties, 0. Not even one dialysis machine.
Okay.
And that's the difference.
And now what we are
Yes.
saying is that will happen, right?
Now what's going to happen is this act is going to now cater for the financing mechanism.
Okay.
So now the service delivery is now being done by public-private mission. So where there are gaps, definitely there will be someone who will fill in. Whether it will be filled in by the mission, or it will be filled in by the county, or it will be filled in, because if there is demand, definitely someone will supply.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're really happy
Before
on
you
this.
go there,
Yes.
before we
Okay.
come back, I just want to come back and ask you a question. This amorphous being that's going to do these things, do they also constitute this quality assurance and control team? Who are these people? Who is this team? Where do they come from?
No, there will be a quality authority that will make sure that it panels and it looks at the facilities
From
in terms
where?
of it's a national body.
An authority is going to be created
Yes.
from these laws
Yes.
that does this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think currently is a KMPDU, which
KMPDC.
is
The union.
KMPDC.
No, not
the
the
union.
KMPDC. So you will have an authority that will look at the quality and the standards of those facilities that will make sure that these they are the ones who will empanel those facilities and look at and say facility X meets the standards, facility Y does not meet the standards, so close it. Facility Z meets the standards, and the FIF now comes in to help public facilities maintain and retain their money so that they can continue providing the services. So that they don't run out of commodities, they don't run out of all other things that they need.
What safeguards do we have to make sure that even private facilities and faith-based facilities that receive money from this social insurance scheme are not misappropriating their money?
It's in their interest to continue providing services. They don't have budgetary allocation.
It could be in their
And
interest.
that's what I was
to steal money.
saying. Link fencing should not only be towards government facilities.
Yeah.
Link fencing of health funds we should have mechanism of how do we even from the private facilities that whatever comes in as health money does not go out to do other projects.
Yes.
How
Whatever
would that be
SHIF pays to your facility, you are not using it to say, okay, now we have an expansion program, and that expansion program is basically the director's scheme of siphoning the money out of this thing.
I will give you an example. You own a company for transport.
Yes.
And you are contracted by government to deliver goods from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Yes.
And then they pay you.
Yes.
You decide to eat the whole full amount. Then they tell you there is another cargo in Mombasa we need you to bring. Where will you get the fuel to bring and pay the driver? In the public sector, that did not matter. You would say, we don't need to provide that service. Let the facilities remain as they are, or we are waiting for budgetary allocation. But in the private sector, it's in your interest to fuel your car, pay your driver, so that you go back and collect that goods, and you are paid again. So for me, I don't see any problem when it comes to mission and private, because it's not about, you see, your whole essence of existence is to sustain sustainability. You don't have budgetary allocation coming from elsewhere, and you are not dependent on anyone else. You are dependent on the services that you offer is what is making you sustainable and continue operating.
You know,
and the way these three bills work is money follows services. You provide service.
That's all very true.
I pay
in an ideal situation, and I think that's what Jeff, you're also arguing. In an ideal situation, somebody will look at that and say this, but corporate governance kicks in. In the public sector, there are layers of accountability in corporate governance. There will be an auditor who will come and audit your funds, and they'll raise the flags, and Parliament will ask questions, and there'll be people who will be fired to make sure that we maintain Kenyatta National Hospital as a going entity, right? In the private sector, if CT Hospital brings in directors, and the management and directors are basically stealing from this facility, this facility will collapse. And it will affect that whole network that we're talking about. The point is, City Hospital will no longer exist, and there'll be no questions that we can ask. Remember, the social health insurance contributions have been funding this facility. CT and its directors have taken money from the facility and gone and done whatever they want to do. They have bought trucks because now they want to enter into transport business and move away from this.
And even now we have some facilities which have problems.
All these issues
that Derek can talk about it.
Yes.
But the key impediment which comes in is that now the insurer, when it comes to what we call payment mechanism, is a bit choosy on if I'm to deal with a private entity. What payment mechanism do I apply? There are those which are more progressive, the others which are retrogressive. But you find you cannot apply the progressive ones to a private entity because you do not know where the funds will go. Yep. Like capitation, for example, if you give them money upfront, they will use that money to do other things other than promote health. Yeah. But for a government entity, the money should be meant for that purpose and should go back to do the same purpose.
And now with the law, that money is being ring-fenced. So even if you give them capitation money in advance, this money will not leave. And if it left, the Auditor General will find that the money left.
So I want to correct one thing.
Correct us.
The social health insurance is not funding you. It's paying for service that you have delivered. Number one, that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. And the service you have delivered had inputs. You bought medicine, you bought reagents, you bought a machine, and you hired a doctor to pay. So when you are paid, you are distributing the money that you have been given. So let's remove the misconception that you are being funded. You are providing services that you are paid for. So it's in your interest as a provider that you are able again to buy the medicine, the machine, and the equipment, and hire the doctor.
The companies
so what
that
happens?
Go under,
I'm coming to that.
And we have very many cases in the retail space everywhere. Those companies go under because there was poor corporate governance. They go under. In our particular case for health, the cost is higher for the public because when this one particular facility gets off the network is now imbalanced. There's a bigger social cost if a health facility misuses or mismanages its funds. That's what I'm saying.
Or even fails to retain quality.
Or fails to retain quality.
And that's where I was coming to my next point. You see, when city's facility collapses, it is because or in Embakasi and Ngong, in all the areas that have problems.
Not only that, I also went and built a hospital in that very line.
So that doesn't mean that, first of all, as we speak, it's not that hospital building or construction of new facilities are going to stop. As demand continues, there will be new ones that will be coming in. Yes. So if you have one getting out of way, you will have Eric Latiff moving in and taking over that same space. So for me, I don't see any challenge in terms of whether the directors misuse or not misuse. What matters at the end of the day is this facility providing the services that's required to the quality that's required. That's the most important thing. The moment they can't, then they are removed from the network and you have a new facility that will come into that space.
Jeff, this new law also talks about the new entity, the Social Health Insurance Fund, as it's going to be called, and sort of raises questions about its capacity to handle the job that it's being given to do. From how you understand NHIF, having worked there for many years, having led it, is it able to manage all these funds and to manage UHC? Or does it need, external support here, external support there? Does it need to bring in, for example, another entity to help it in recruiting, another entity to help it? And I'm asking that specifically because it opens a window for the NHIF, the new NHIF, to bring in another entity, a private sector entity, to help it with claims and processing of those claims. Is NHIF incapable of doing that?
Being a parastatal in a government body, it's capable of doing that. And I want to believe even the new body being formed, that is the Social Health Authority, should be capable of doing that. But that doesn't mean that some aspects cannot be outsourced. So the issue is basically what is to be outsourced. But it should be the body to have the bulk of the processes. In NHIF, like we outsource the provision of underwriting of group life and last expense for some category of people to other payers in the industry. That doesn't mean that we didn't have the category, the capacity, but maybe our setup could not allow us to undertake that very aspect. So outsourcing is allowed, but the issue is exactly what it is that you are to outsource.
No, this particular
and you cannot
case,
outsource your core. Your
in
core.
In this particular case, they are required to outsource processing of claims.
Well, maybe I wouldn't know about that, but what I would suggest is that your core, you should retain your core. But the other areas you can outsource, like maybe you have some cohorts accessing outpatient services, you can outsource to one payer provider along the stream and handle that, depending on their circumstances.
What is the core? What are the core services that this social health authority should provide?
For any social health authority, the core comes in as your member base. You should be the one to have your membership base. You should be the one to call out on the benefits packages you're driving, and engagement with the providers of the same services. That is,
engagement is contracting them.
Contracting can be done elsewhere, but when they are on the panel, that they are providers, that you should engage in them in terms of their claims and the services they are offering, because that's where you come in now to pay them. So those are the three parameters.
Would there be a negative?
Of any social.
Would there be a negative if claims are handled by an external entity? Like if the authority subcontracted another entity to handle this, we're receiving very many claims on a daily basis from all the facilities across the country. Maybe somebody else handles that. You break
entirely.
Away. Yes.
But which other authority would be bigger than the one? Who is the other bigger person than the authority? Maybe I don't know.
No. I understand where the question is coming from, and I know the genesis because there are providers who are jittery when it comes to this issue of outsourcing. So when you look at the Act, the way it has been designed, it moves away from what NHIF was. So NHIF was doing certain things, literally A to Z. So they were the ones who were recruiting
members,
collecting the money, designing the benefit package, empaneling facilities, contracting facilities, pre-authorizing, claim processing, payment, resolving disputes.
Everything.
Yes. One person. I, the one who decides how you move. and what you do and what you say. So this new authority tries to relinquish some of those things so that there are checks and balances. The tendency is when you have that concentrated power in one individual, is where now issues come in, underhand deals, kickbacks, and all those things. Because I'm the one who decides whether to approve. Yes. I'm the one who decides whether to give you the contract or not to give you. I'm the one who decides whether to approve.
To pre-authorize.
Pre-authorize. I'm the one who decides whether to pay your claim or not to pay. I'm the one who decides if you have a problem to tell you go to hell and close your facility. So what this new authority has done is empaneling has been outsourced to the quality authority. So the first initial, who decides this person can do this work? It's somebody else. So that at least you are not the one who is concerned with all these other issues of empaneling. Then the second thing, they will collect the benefits, the premiums. The Ministry of Health, I think that's what it says, will come up with the benefit packages of what are the things that needs to be, what is the thing that is your tariff that you will pay to the facilities, and what will you give as an entitlement to Eric to say, Eric, this is what you're entitled to
as a contributor.
As a contributor for your social health.
So that goes to the ministry.
To the ministry.
So ministry comes up with benefits and tariffs.
Tariffs.
Okay.
So then you have the next part where you have now pre-authorization of those benefits to the facilities. It's done by the social health insurance. And that's one thing that most providers are not aware because they haven't looked at the way the Act speaks. So it's the payer now who decides you raise pre-authorization, then I'm the one who approves and says, yes, proceed, Abdi, proceed with this procedure.
Okay.
So the biggest hullabaloo is why are we outsourcing the claims? As you have said, there is...
and the claim is separate from the pre-authorization?
Yes. Pre-authorization is done by the Social Health Authority. Claim processing, looking at this benefit. And you know, these are things that have already been predetermined. So the benefit is known, the amount is known, and all those are already in the system. And that's with the authority. To say you are entitled to cesarean section, it's 30,000, and that's what we are going to pay. So you will do the pre-authorization, they will approve, because they have looked at what you have raised the amount, whether Eric is really entitled to that benefit, and then they will say, tick, proceed, and do. Now what you have is the...
So the facility raises an invoice.
An invoice. Now is to look at... It's basically a clerical work to just check what was pre-authorized and what you have raised are correct. The details are also correct in terms of patient, the number, the amount. So basically, it's just to make sure that this thing actually makes sense. And then they say, yes, pay. This is clean claim. So now who pays? It's the Social Health Authority that says, okay, this has come in, we make payment. But they also do audit, cross-checks to just make sure that whatever Ndu is sending as one of the claim processor. So it's not only one body that will do the claim processing, in my opinion.
5.
It can be even 6, 7, 10.
There'll be up to 5 according to the law.
No, the law, that has been removed.
It has been removed.
It has been removed.
Okay, so it's not open.
It's to decide the zoning in terms of different areas because of the numbers that will come in. So if Ndu, suppose, approves claims that are fake, so Ndu, who is supposed to be, as the Act says, MIP, will be held liable. And they are regulated by the Insurance Regulatory Authority. So you, as the social health, you don't have to go to individual facilities when there's a problem.
That's Ndu's work.
That is Ndu's work that you will hold accountable
Yeah.
and you will punish, either removing or even withholding, whatever it is
Or
that.
jailing.
Yes. So it will be Ndu. That is where now the money has been approved, the claim process internally has been done, the reviewing, and it's good to go, the payment is proceeded. So when you have a dispute, like suppose you are not comfortable with certain things, or they come and tell you your facility is this, you have, or you have been raising fake claims. So now you have a new body, a tribunal, that does dispute resolution, which will be
Between
appointed.
the social health, the facility,
or even individuals.
and the MIP.
Even individuals.
Or individual contributor.
The
patient.
contributor, if you have a problem, that maybe the social health authority, the board and the management were unable to solve.
My problem.
Or you are uncomfortable with their decision.
Okay.
If still the act says, if you are uncomfortable with that independent tribunal, you can appeal to the High Court.
Okay.
If you are uncomfortable again with their decision.
Let's take a break. We'll come back and look at that structure again, see whether it makes sense to separate all these roles, or is it going to lead to more efficiency in service delivery or not. 20 minutes to 10. Quickly tell us about the graduations that are taking place across the country. I see even Kabianga University
is graduating.
So is there jam heading to Kabianga University?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Wadau mko ready kuona magic? Nasema wadau mko ready kuona magic? Haya basi, msiblink juu sasa tumefungulia Magic na Maisha Magic Plus. Watch all the best local entertainment kama Njoroge, Uba, Salem na the all new shows Kasiri and Zari. Tumefungulia Magic. Maisha Magic Plus is now on DSTV Access channel 163 and GoTV Plus channel 3.
Indeed. So still looking at heavy traffic coming off Magadi Road and then touching on wow, it's quite a lot of that as you come out then onto Langata Road. Heavy traffic coming in from folks who are getting into the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. So there's lots of traffic also coming in from Langata South Road. So watch out for that. If you're in that direction, it's because of the graduation. Nothing else has happened, but it looks like it's going to be that way for some time. Everywhere else seems to be running smoothly. We shouldn't have an issue with that. Kabianga will tell you through the day. SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Of very many things. So let's start with Eric is a contributor. He's being deducted 2.75% because contributing to this thing. The money is going somewhere. Where is it going to?
It's going to the Social Health Authority.
Okay.
But you know, one other thing that I want also to clarify is we always look at this social health as the people who are employed. This social health is meant for everyone.
Yes.
Which is 80% of the contributors will be the informal sector.
Bas.
So the only people who will do this formal contribution will be around 15 to 20%.
Yes.
So the biggest headache the new body will have is how they collect.
How to recruit
and collect.
And collect from the others.
Now imagine if they were busy also trying
Jeff
to approve
will tell us
claims.
what he did because he was collecting 500 Bob. He was collecting 500 every month.
We may not have the advantage of having the whole process that will be because the regulations are not yet out. But from his explanation and from I see, like what happens in South Korea. Like South Korea, they have an NHSIO. And they have another body they call Health Benefits and Tariffs body. the NHSIO does the work that our social body here would do. But this other body does the tariffs, does the verification, and also submits to the other body to pay. So that bit can be done of
so the one
verification, because what I get, what he's saying, it's verification. That's different from
bills.
That's different from outsourcing claims management. Because even as at times in NHIF we were reaching that decision of how would we have a panel of doctors relooking at some procedures that were done and to authenticate and confirm that ideally this was okay, this was correct. If this was the presentation and this was the treatment, this was fine, you can proceed and pay. That's different from outsourcing claims management. So
in this particular case, in our case, what we have is the Ministry of Health is the one that is doing the tariffs and setting that base and saying, for this kind of service, this is how much you pay. For this kind of service, this is how much you pay. And they set like a policy.
Because they should have the muscle of doing the costing of health services, which is very key component, which I think is a gap that we really missed. We had started doing it with the help of World Bank, but I think after I left, it collapsed at some point. So because that's very key to determine.
Does the ministry have that capacity?
Well, they have the muscle to even get experts on board
to build the capacity.
The process, yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So once they've done that, then the new Social Health Authority is collecting the money from all its members, all right, and it's managing this money. The new Social Health Authority receives a request from a facility. It's also the one that's recruiting facilities.
No, the empaneling is done differently.
By a different...
we will make sure the quality is done properly. So they will contract.
And maybe whoever does the contracting should follow up to ensure that are these people still living to the standards that we set for them.
Okay. Yes. So once we start receiving, Eric goes to a facility.
Yes.
And the facility determines that this is Eric's diagnosis and this is the kind of treatment that Eric needs.
Yes.
The facility sends that request to the Social Health Authority to say, can we go ahead and incur these costs?
And proceed and do the procedure.
So basically what there is, the response that they receive is like an LPO.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Their pre-authorization.
Yes.
You get an LPO as a facility.
Yes.
Go ahead and incur cost of up to this.
And that's where now you can also have technical people to sit on this other end at the Social Health Authority.
It's important to have technical people.
Yes. Unfortunately, NHIF did not have. What they had is more of not doctors per se. They had clinical officers and nurses who are doing those predeterminations. So with the Social Health Authority, what they need is to have now, even if it means not employing, but just outsourcing to even a panel of doctors and tell them, this is the request, is it really the next line of treatment, or is this how it's supposed to be done? And do give a professional input and say, no, this can be done or this should be done.
This will consume time.
That's why I'm telling you.
So because even this whole pre-authorization thing, it's time consuming.
There are things which are very clear.
The pre-authorization only comes to confirm what we have set as the things we are gonna pay.
Okay.
Are you in line with them?
Not questioning.
You are not seeing the patient.
Why
yourself.
should this procedure be done?
Yeah, you are not seeing the patient. You don't have the patient.
So
you
we're just saying
question some things.
The facility is requesting that we do a procedure X. And procedure X will cost this much. So the pre-authorization is just checking, is this what we have agreed as the cost for procedure X? Is that
exactly? And actually, the people that Taria is saying, what their work was meant to do is to do what we call surveillance. To go and come say hi to you in hospital. Why are you actually in hospital?
Yes.
Because how would you again know?
No.
And some bit. You need some metrics to do surveillance.
Yeah.
To know exactly.
So the
hospital is treating people. The hospital is actually even open.
Even the other
health, never visit.
Even the other insurers have the same people.
Yeah. And I can tell you, like when you look in the other our private health insurance industry, I was looking at a report of this 2021. 20, it had 20 and a couple of years there. And the only year they made profit was the year when we had corona, because people could not visit hospitals, people had fear. That year they made a bit of profit. But the other years we'd find they also operate in losses. And the big contributor to the losses is medical fraud. It is there, it is real. You have to be very actionable in how you deal with it and how you...
so then I guess the overriding question here is then what guarantees that this is not going to be just another platform for this medical fraud that we speak of?
The architecture and what goes into it.
It's the way you design.
And the key thing, and what
so long as you
should
have people...
deal with, what should deal with the medical fraud is you need to have progressive payment mechanism. How do you reimburse your health facilities? Like what NHF has been doing all along is what we call rebate. Rebate capitation we brought in when we started outpatient services. Rebate it's outdated. The facilities have learned how you do your game. So if you don't change and keep, and this is where we were moving to, if you don't change it to a more progressive one, you'll be outdone.
This story of medical fraud always keeps coming up. But you see, for fraud to happen, you need all parties to participate. From the guy who is the insurer, the patient, and the hospital. All three must align to defraud, because there is no other way that can take place. For example, you as a patient...
The patient can be innocent.
No. Sometimes you will find the patient is the one who initiates...
Is initiating the fraud.
It is CT who has insurance, but CT has a son who is called Eric. Eric doesn't have insurance, and he brings Eric to be... or has a brother who is Eric. But because Eric does not have a card, he says, use my card. So for me to use your CTs, I have to accept.
As a facility.
You, as the patient, also know that you are using CT's card. It's not yours. So you are also part.
The problem comes when death happens.
And you are part and parcel of it.
Wow.
You understand?
That's where the problems...
And for this one, what will save us, in my opinion, is because everyone is mandatory to be part of the scheme. So it doesn't need... You don't need to have his card. You will have your own card. So that way, one way that it will...
You've balanced it out.
So you're suggesting that everyone who is an adult in this country will be registered?
Yes.
That's the law.
That's the law.
Yes. No. I am saying they are assuming because it may be the law.
Yes.
But it will work when that is a reality.
Yes.
Okay? But up to a point.
Yes.
Because remember, we are a country where people have even used examination results which are not theirs to acquire jobs. We, the same country.
Yes.
We are the same country where, in the Ministry of Lands, we're told they have an impenetrable system that, okay, I think you know I'm going with this.
Yes. I've understood.
Yes. So as we talk about this new system, we are saying there are people who are already figuring out, okay, let's understand this system first.
So that we can know where we are.
Now, having understood, how do we subvert this system? So when you say progressive, it now makes sense because you don't wait for it to happen.
Yes.
You're constantly thinking ahead of them. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's why the Act says everything must be done digitally so that there's a footprint.
And maybe I'm assuming
from A to Z.
They will apply, say, like a case-mix model of payment or diagnostic related groupings. In that case, you need maybe to submit the claim to some other party or experts to look, not just another processor. No, somebody has to look at the claim and see this presentation, does it align to the diagnosis? Because such mechanisms allows the diagnosis and the treatment to be aligned so that it is set to a certain tariff. If I come to the hospital and I have malaria, we know the payment you receive is XYZ.
Yeah.
If malaria and typhoid present the same, have the same presentation and mode of treatment, they are grouped together and are coded one tariff, which you are paid. So there is no thinking. You came to malaria, this was the diagnosis, this is the payment. So they can be rechecked by other person to see, is this doctor presenting the same model of diagnosing. And it helps even doctors try to be efficient, because you will not be paid if I came in, if this was the diagnosis, and you started by taking me round, you are not hit on. The other aspects will not be paid for, because they don't constitute to the line of treatment towards this diagnosis. So progressive payment mechanisms really help to improve doctors' efficiency and to try and cut down on
and quality as well.
Yes,
so I'm not coming to a hospital and you know very well I have malaria, but enda kwanza tupime typhoid.
And ufanye MRI.
Ulikunywa nini ufanye MRI. So unasikia kichwa inauma sana pande ya mbele.
So I'm really hoping that we will move towards new payment mechanisms.
So meaning
and even help the other private health insurers.
There are ways that can be done, all these things in terms of setting up. But as Sitia has said, the assumption and the prayer is that everyone will be a member and everyone will have a cover. So that you don't need, two of the benefits are already taxpayer. So it's only one benefit in the middle that you have to contribute to. But for you to benefit even the primary health care, so this becomes a requirement that you must be a member of the social for you to get the accident and emergency and critical illness and the primary health care. Yes.
Now, to the both of you.
Yes.
In this country, since 2003 January, we've had free primary education. Do people cough money for their children to go to primary school? Public primary school in this country?
Yes.
For a couple of years, we've had free day secondary education. Do people cough money to do this? Yes.
Yes.
Now we are saying we are going to have free primary healthcare.
Yes. People will cough money to access. One way is they will have to go to that place.
Will
Transport.
They be gatekeeping fees?
It starts with, will the government follow through with this one? This same government that has not been able to follow through diligently with offering free education, will it follow through with offering free primary healthcare? And what happens when it doesn't?
All indications are the way I see. I told you it was June 27th, 2022. That's where these things started. Up to now where we are, the journey seems to be moving progressively. And that's why I was telling you, even UHC is not an end destination. It's a journey. So it should be something that's continuously that we should push for. And one of the things why I see it will have to is the law, the current law that has been enacted, repeals NHIF after 1 year. So meaning it will not exist. So the Social Health Authority must come in its place after 1 year. And it must have those three funds.
It must.
It must, as per the law.
Jeff, when Uhuru and Ruto came into office, they promised us free maternity. So, they were supposed to put money into NHIF so that NHIF can pay. Were you receiving that money on time?
Yes, we were, and we did run a program called Linda Mama.
Yes.
And it was very progressive. We changed women in especially rural areas to deliver in a facility with dignity. And that did happen, and I want to believe the program maybe is still on.
The program is there.
Yes.
Is the money coming
the
on
money
time?
came, yes. The money
Does
came
it
on
still
time.
come on time?
Oh, well,
I'm asking
now I
that
don't know.
because
But
we spoke to the chair of NHIF a couple of months ago when there were issues with people going to facilities and they don't have money. I mean, the facilities say, look,
unless you have money, you can't reach
NHIF
you.
has a bill. And the issue was, Ministry of Health had not put in money to, or the Treasury had not put money that they were supposed to put to NHIF. So NHIF was basically having a cash crunch because government has not done what the government should have done. What happens if government does not
do what it's supposed to
do what government should do?
During my tenure, we never had any cash crunch. But I wanted to say something about the laws. About the laws, that these laws set a very good foundation. They set a very good foundation to form the base on us to move towards UHC. Because remember, we have launched UHC, I don't know, about 3 more other times.
Yeah.
But without the foundation and the structures, you find you will try to launch it, but it will collapse and come down. But I think now we have the laws and the foundation to be able to move on. And I think that's a good step.
And different laws, same people.
No.
Same country.
Even people will be different.
What we need to keep in mind is NHIF, with all its problems, has really solved a lot of problems.
Indeed, it has.
For many Kenyans.
It has.
And that's why, for me, I only see a better future, not a worse future, because of the way this has been structured, the way this has been designed. So all we need is, as Kenyans, we need to move away from our individual WhatsApps, where we are contributing something for a relative, a friend, and move into that social health, which becomes our bigger WhatsApp, in my opinion. Because if we don't contribute together, then we will not be able to deliver this kind of services that is very ambitious.
So we should all just say, like, let's contribute to
definitely
this social health.
Yes,
power.
let's contribute so that we also we are not pushed into poverty by trying to pay out of pocket.
Daktari, thank you for joining us. You guys will be back here. We'll be looking at how NHIF is progressing. Dr. Abdi Mohammed, Chairman of the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals, and Jeffrey Mwangi, former CEO of NHIF and health financing expert. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. See you on Monday. Have a lovely one. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto heads to Taita Taveta County to commission the Voi Gemstone Value Addition Center. The center is set to benefit at least 1,500